Chapter 51. Is it my turn? Luo Mu was stunned. He was immersed in the observation and understanding. After these hundreds of battles, he has gained a lot. He has a certain understanding of many martial arts in the academy. Some of them are of low grade, and even without reading the secret book, he has learned them remotely. The most important thing is, he found that he didn't have to watch the sword cultivators. Watching other schools can also increase the sword power, but the understanding brought by the sword cultivators is not as much. The so-called different paths lead to the same destination, and all methods are unified harmony. It's nothing more than this. Schools are just different forms of martial Tao. In the final analysis, the essence is the same. So after understanding this point, Luo Mu did not miss any battle, concentrating and devoting himself to it. After hundreds of critical hits, the sword power has successfully increased by more than half. It is not far from the state of 100% perfection. Finish this battle first. Luo Mu retracted his thoughts. Walk forward. Now he just wants to finish the battle quickly and continue watching. On the field, Area 13. Someone is already standing on the field. He is quite strong. He holds a battle axe in each hand. He looks fierce. Qin Longyu. A gentle name, but the person is completely different. Where is he? Qin Longyu was dissatisfied. When he came up, his opponent hadn't arrived yet. A mere outer palace disciple. He dared to make him wait. Ta. The moment the voice fell, a black-clothed figure walked into the formation. The person was tall and slender, with a cold face. There was a long knife tied around his waist. You are Luo Mu. Qin Longyu's voice was like a bell, and he looked at him. He had heard about Luo Mu's name recently. After the exaggeration of the outer palace disciples, he had become a peerless evildoer who kicked Huang Yuntian and punched Li Jianyi. At the same time, people on the high platforms around him also began to observe Luo Mu, this young demon who has recently become famous. It's him. A glimmer of joy flashed in the eyes of the ninth prince. He had not seen him in hundreds of games just now, which made him a little drowsy. The great elder looked at the ninth prince in surprise. It seems that the ninth prince is very interested in this person. He was looking for him just now. Wang Sanjiu, how many moves do you think this boy can last? Xianxia asked. 100 moves is no problem. Wang Sanjiu snorted coldly. With the bonus of the sword, he will not be defeated by Qin Longyu in one move. He will definitely last for a while. On the field, the two of them faced each other from a distance. Other areas around them had already started fighting, but they could not attract the attention of most people. With my Spirit Sea Realm cultivation, I am bullying you a little, but there is nothing I can do about it. I will give you a chance and let you go first with 3 moves. Qin Longyu waved the battle axe in his hand, and his smile was a little ferocious. At the same time, the aura belonging to the Spirit Sea Realm emerged. Bullying? Luo Mu was stunned, and suddenly remembered that he had concealed his aura, so others could not see his specific realm. No need, just fight seriously. Hearing this, Qin Longyu's smile froze slightly. Then he became gloomy. I'm fighting you with my true skills, and I still need to be serious. Who are you looking down on? Do you really think that you can easily reach a higher realm after realizing the great trend of martial Tao? However, when he subconsciously wanted to speak, his expression suddenly changed. Boom. A strong aura burst out from Luo Mu's body. It was the Spirit Sea Realm, and it was the 3rd layer of the Spirit Sea Realm. What? This scene shocked many people. After all, more than half a month ago, Luo Mu seemed to be in the 5th layer of the true acupoint realm. How long has it been now? And he has actually broken through to the Spirit Sea Realm. And it's not the first time he has entered the Spirit Sea. He has already reached the 3rd layer. Good boy. On the high platform, Wang Sanjiu stood up directly, and a look of surprise appeared on his originally worried face. I didn't expect this kid's cultivation to improve so fast. He actually broke through to the Spirit Sea Realm without knowing it. In this way, the realm gap between him and Qin Longyu was completely eliminated, and with the sword force, Qin Longyu could not be his opponent. Haha, Xianxia, what should we do now? Wang Sanjiu looked at Xianxia not far away. He felt extremely relieved. Hearing this, Xianxia opened his mouth, but couldn't say anything. Without the advantage of realm, Qin Longyu naturally couldn't be Luo Mu's opponent. Dad, that's brother Luo. On a high platform, Cheng Qingman and Cheng Tiansong stayed here. The position was not conspicuous. This was Cheng Tiansong's choice. He didn't like the position that was too far forward. He is indeed a young hero. Cheng Tiansong nodded, with admiration in his eyes. His appearance and figure alone are quite outstanding. I didn't expect brother Luo to have reached the 3rd layer of Spirit Sea Realm. How did he train to get there? This training speed is too exaggerated, just like his comprehension. Cheng Qingman was shocked. I remember the first time I met Luo Mu. Luo Mu was only in the body tempering realm, but now she has completely surpassed her. You. On the field, Qin Longyu's originally confident face instantly disappeared. Now that they are at the same realm, how can he be Luo Mu's opponent? Martial Dao trend, that's no joke. But all the eyes were cast at him. As a disciple of the inner palace, he naturally cannot surrender. Otherwise, how can he face people in the future? Damn it. Qin Longyu cursed in his heart. I thought I had picked a soft persimmon and could do whatever I wanted. Who would have thought that this soft persimmon would turn into an iron lump in an instant? Come on, Luo Mu. Let me see your sword power. Qin Longyu hit the battle axe in his hand. He shouted loudly. Even if you lose, you have to lose beautifully. Why do I need sword power to defeat you? Luo Mu's face was calm, and his voice was even calmer. Qin Longyu's face flushed instantly after hearing this. You want to defeat me without sword power? What a wishful thinking. If I were defeated by you today without sword power, I will not be in the inner palace anymore. Arrogant. Qin Longyu took action. He took the initiative to rush towards Luo Mu. He was burly, and every step he took could shake the venue. The battle axe in his hand flashed a cold light. Xianxia axe technique. 10,000 mountains. This is a profound rank middle-grade martial art. Under the stimulation of true qi, a vague mountain phantom appeared. Obviously, Qin Longyu has practiced it to perfection. Not bad. Luo Mu nodded slightly. He is indeed a genius in the inner palace. Basically, those who can reach the Spirit Sea realm have practiced a profound rank middle-grade martial art, and their attainments are very high. But facing him, it is still far from enough. As he said, he didn't even need to use the sword. Wuxing Sword Sutra, Badeo style. Luo Mu drew his sword. 100 Wuxing saber qi in his body rushed out, covering the blade, transformed into a terrifying sword light that was nearly 100 meters long. It came down on Qin Longyu's head. Chapter 52. The knife light was sharp, the air roared, like a mountain pressing down on the top of the head, carrying an unrivaled momentum. Before the knife arrived, dense cracks began to appear on the ground. What? Qin Longyu's face changed instantly. What kind of knife technique is this? How can it be so powerful, completely surpassing his axe technique? F****K. Qin Longyu roared. If he was defeated by Luo Mu without using the knife, it would be too embarrassing. At least he had to hold on for a few moves. However, although the idea was beautiful, the reality was cruel. The power gap between martial arts has determined everything. Boom. The venue shook, and dust rose. When the dust cleared, Qin Longyu was already lying on the ground, looking miserable, but he was only slightly injured and was knocked unconscious by force. Huh. In an instant, the whole audience was boiling. My God, am I seeing things? Senior brother Luo defeated Qin Longyu without even using his sword power, and it was just one move. Someone gasped. Unbelievable. When Luo Mu first came on the field, not many people had high hopes. After all, his opponent's cultivation was too high. Until Luo Mu showed his cultivation of the third layer of the Spirit Sea realm. But no one expected that he could practice sword power without even using it. Defeated with one move. Is that the Wuxing Sword Sutra? Among the profound rank middle-grade martial arts, the most apex level one, someone suddenly recognized Luo Mu's swordsmanship. Yes, and senior brother Luo has practiced it to perfection. As soon as this was said, everyone could understand it immediately. Although Qin Longyu's Xianxia axe technique is also profound rank middle grade, there is still a big gap between it and the Wuxing Sword Sutra. No wonder he could be defeated with one move. I didn't expect that brother Luo actually practiced the Sword of the Immortal Sword. This martial art is very difficult to practice, and it has to be practiced in killing. After a long time, it is easy to affect the mind, so very few people are willing to practice it. But once it is practiced, the power is very terrible, not weaker than the ordinary profound rank high grade. Someone familiar introduced. So that's it. Everyone couldn't help but nod. Then they got excited again. Luo Mu is now the third layer of the Spirit Sea realm, and he has mastered the sword moves and the Sword of the Immortal Sword. This kind of martial artist, let alone the top 100. Even the top 50 is no problem. Brother Luo is awesome. Strength is respected in the academy. When you are strong enough, you will naturally call me brother. Today's battle really made the outer palace proud. In the past, the battles between the inner and outer palaces were basically the outer palace lost and the inner palace won. Ha ha ha, he can't even hold on for one move. It seems that the genius of your inner palace is not good enough. Wang Sanjiu stroked his white beard and laughed. Not far away, Zhang Xian's face has become gloomy. Although he knows that he will definitely lose, he should at least hold on for a few moves. Besides, the opponent has not even used the sword force. Don't laugh too early. The real demon in my inner palace has not yet made a move. It's just the martial Dao momentum. It's like no one has it. Zhang Xian said coldly. Hee. Wang Sanjiu didn't listen. It's a rare opportunity to be proud. How can I miss it? At the same time, he was shocked. It's only been a short time since Luo Mu got the Wuxing Sword Sutra, and he has already practiced it to perfection. What he didn't know was that Luo Mu not only practiced it to perfection, but also derived the Wuxing Sword Sutra to profound rank high grade. Just now, it was just 100 saber chi. It meets the intermediate level. This guy has become much stronger again. The corner of the ninth prince's mouth raised. Such an exaggerated training speed, coupled with that terrifying comprehension. It's hard to imagine how far he can go in the future. The elder next to him didn't have much feeling. Because he had been in seclusion for many years, it was the first time for him to see Luo Mu. He just thought that the knife just now was pretty good. So he is Luo Mu. Among the disciples waiting to go on stage, a smile appeared on his face. It was Xie Yunbai who had looked at Luo Mu in the back mountain of the academy before. After returning, he tried every means to investigate. But because there was too little information, he couldn't find the corresponding one at all. He thought it was Luo Mu. But in everyone's cognition at that time, Luo Mu seemed to be still in the realm of true enlightenment, which was completely inconsistent. Who would have thought that it was really true? On the field, Luo Mu ignored Qin Longyu who had fainted, put the knife back into the sheath, turned around and left. The movement was smooth. He was still in a hurry to watch the fight of others. Just as he walked out, he found that a sharp gaze fell on him. He looked over subconsciously. Not far away, there was a young man with a sword on his back, looking at him. There was scrutiny in the brown eyes. Luo Mu didn't think much and looked away directly. Knowing that watching the battle would also be rewarding, he didn't want to waste any battle now. No one is more important than watching the battle. You have to know that the ceremony is held only once every 3 years, and there are not so many battles to watch at ordinary times. What? Are you starting to be cautious? Huang Yuntian's mouth corners slightly raised. It's just the Wuxing Sword Sutra. Li Jiani retracted his gaze and said lightly. That's right. No matter how strong the Wuxing Sword Sutra is, it is only profound rank middle grade, and we practice high grade. Huang Yuntian crossed his arms. With his current level, it can only be ranked in the top 40 at most. There are currently 37 disciples in the inner palace who have realized the great trend of martial Tao. Unless this person's great trend of martial Tao has also improved, it will not be a big threat. It seems that I am the only one qualified to be your opponent in this ceremony. Huang Yuntian said. Maybe. Li Jiani's eyes were calm. My father and some elders in the family are watching from above, and I must remain invincible. Only in this way can my father's lineage return to the true core of the family. Patriarch. That sounds good. He is just a chores guy. It is ready to be released at 5 o'clock. If you like this book, you can subscribe to support it. This book has a complete outline, so you can read it with confidence. You can read more daily new novels on fictionzone.net. Both sites share the same login details, so you don't need to sign up again. Chapter 53. At dusk, the first round of competition was finally over. Luo Mu rubbed his sore eyes. His face was filled with joy. After watching nearly 2,000 games, his sword power finally reached 100% perfection. How can you watch more than 2,000 games normally? This is an opportunity that cannot be missed. Luo Mu thought to himself. The improvement of sword power becomes more and more difficult as time goes on. He watched more than 2,000 games, plus the system critical hit, and then he reached the perfect state. If he practiced by himself normally, you can imagine how much time and energy it would take. No one in the inner and outer palaces should be able to reach 100% sword power, right? Luo Mu thought. The only one who could achieve it was the apex-level monster currently ranked first in the inner palace. Li Jiani. He had never seen it, but just heard it from someone next to him. Above the martial Tao trend is the true meaning of martial Tao. Luo Mu's eyes were like torches. For evildoers, if they work hard, it is not difficult to comprehend the general trend of martial Tao. But the true meaning of martial Tao, it is not a level that every evildoer can step into. It can even be said that among hundreds of evildoers, only one person has a chance, and it is just a chance. What is the true meaning of martial Tao? That is, the artistic conception of martial Tao. Martial artists' understanding of martial Tao has reached an unimaginable level, far beyond the general trend. In fact, after more than 1,000 games, his sword power has been perfected, and after more than 1,000 games, he has gained a huge amount of understanding. But he can never reach the realm of the legendary true meaning. It seems that the distance is still very, very far. Luo Mu can understand this. That is the true meaning of martial Tao in the legend. How can it be comprehended casually? Even if it is an evildoer, most of them can't touch the edge until they die. There are still many rounds of the ceremony. I still have a chance. Luo Mu does not ask to figure it out directly. At least before the end of the ceremony, he can touch it. The next day, the second round begins. The number drawn by Luo Mu is 87, which means the opponent is 88. You're on the stage so early. Luo Mu raised his eyebrows slightly. He wanted to be the last one in line, so that he could watch others fight with all his heart. but it's okay to be earlier. It's all the same. The first match, Inner Palace Huang Yuntian versus Outer Palace Xie Yunbai. A voice rang out in the square. It immediately caused an uproar. Huang Yuntian was ranked second in the Inner Palace, and Xie Yunbai was ranked first in the Outer Palace. Both of them are extremely powerful monsters. They both have the opportunity to compete in the top 100, no, the top 30. I didn't expect to meet in the second round. My God, is God going to destroy my Outer Palace? Someone looked ugly. Although Xie Yunbai was the first in the Outer Palace and Huang Yuntian was the second in the Inner Palace. But the difference in strength between the two was not a little bit. Facing Huang Yuntian, Xie Yunbai was almost certain to lose. In the crowd, Xie Yunbai was slightly startled when he heard the voice, and then he sighed softly. He walked slowly to the field. It turned out to be him. Luo Mu thought of the back mountain of the academy. Although it was just a glimpse, there was still some impression. This person has the great potential of martial Dao, and it is not low, a full 30%. Before he appeared, he is indeed the first person in the Outer Palace. Wang Sanjiu, it seems that your Outer Palace has bad luck, Xianxia said with a smile, sweeping away the haze of yesterday. Wang Sanjiu did not answer. His face was slightly ugly. Huang Yuntian's strength is unquestionable, second only to Li Jianchong. Xie Yunbai will never be his opponent. This is the strongest seedling in the Outer Palace, but he has to lose in the second round. How did he draw this signature? That guy, why doesn't he take a rest? Whether it's yesterday or today, his eyes are fixed on every battle. On the high platform, the prince's eyes were fixed on Luo Mu, rarely moved elsewhere. It seems that the ninth prince is very interested in Luo Mu. Until now, how could the elder not have any awareness? Even Li Jiani, the ninth prince, didn't even look at him. He was paying attention to Luo Mu, the Outer Palace disciple, the whole time. I have a liking for him. The ninth prince smiled. That kid's talent is indeed extraordinary. After returning last night, the great elder consulted some news from the inner city. When he saw it, he was quite shocked. He realized the sword power in the true acupoint realm. It's not unprecedented, but it's also very rare. If nothing unexpected happens in the future, there is a great chance that he will step into the realm of the true meaning of martial Dao. On the field, two figures appeared. They were Xie Yunbai and Huang Yuntian. I didn't expect that we would meet so soon, Huang Yuntian said leisurely. He looked relaxed. He seemed to not take Xie Yuntian seriously at all. Your luck is very bad. You could have made it into the top 40, but now you are only outside the top 1,000. Huang Yuntian crossed his arms and said to himself. He completely ignored Xie Yunbai's gloomy face. If you meet, just fight. Why are you talking so much nonsense? Xie Yunbai was unhappy. He had met Huang Yuntian before. In addition to his strong strength, he was also very talkative. He chattered like a sparrow. I just want you to stay on the field for a while longer. If you can't hold on for a few breaths, it will be too embarrassing. I mean, well, why don't you understand the good heart? Huang Yuntian spread his hands, somewhat helpless. So much nonsense. How could Xie Yunbai stand it? He drew his sword instantly and rushed towards Huang Yuntian. Baiyun's sword art a cloud without trace. The sword technique was elegant and hard to find any trace. It really looked like hiding in the clouds. Cut. When he came close to Huang Yuntian, the sword force in Xie Yunbai's body suddenly emerged, trying to find a chance of victory with the power of the explosion. But the next second, the sword force suddenly retracted and returned to the body. Xie Yunbai's pupils shrank suddenly. Unbelievable. His sword force was suppressed again. Why say again? 0. Please give me flowers, Without time to think, Xie Yunbai looked up and saw Huang Yuntian's face with a slight smile. Sorry, I just broke through to the 60% realm some time ago. 60%. Xie Yunbai looked miserable. I didn't expect Huang Yuntian to have reached the 60% level. How come since I raised my power to 30%, I have always encountered 60%? It would be better if it was 50%. It wouldn't be so bad that I couldn't even use it and was directly suppressed. Defeat. Huang Yuntian drew his sword. At the same time, 60% of the sword power emerged. Xie Yunbai was directly chopped off and flew out. He fell heavily to the ground. Brother Huang is mighty. The inner palace disciples shouted. After all, the opponent is Xie Yunbai, the support and the only confidence of the outer palace disciples. But now he fell directly in the second round. I didn't expect Brother Huang's sword power to have been raised to 60%. It's so terrible. Xie Yunbai couldn't even use it and was directly suppressed. It's so miserable. 0, of course. Xie Yunbai is only 3%. Martial, if the gap between Dao trends exceeds 30%, they will be suppressed for a short time. Now we don't need Senior Brother Li to take action. Senior Brother Huang can suppress everything. What if you realize the martial Dao trend in the true acupoint realm? If you meet Senior Brother Huang, you will be suppressed. Although no one is mentioned explicitly, Everyone who hears it is very clear. In this short period of time, the disciple named Luo Mu is too dazzling and must be stepped on hard. In order to save these outer palace disciples from really thinking that they can stand shoulder to shoulder with the inner palace. 60% sword trend? Luo Mu nodded slightly. As expected of a demon from the inner palace, he had such a high level of sword skills in the Spirit Sea realm. It also brought him some gains. It was just that the battle time was too short. Retracted his gaze and looked at other fields. After the sword skills were perfected, he could understand more things. It seemed that he was moving towards a higher level. Even if it was an ordinary sword technique, he could also have different insights from other angles. The 44th match, Luo Mu, a disciple from the Outer Palace, against Hongying, a disciple from the Yin Palace. The voice fell. The attention of the whole audience was attracted again. Of course, it was mainly because of the word Luo Mu. Yesterday, she didn't even use the sword skills, but she defeated Qin Longyu, which shows that her strength is extraordinary. Sister Xing is on the stage. Great. Sister Xing is a demon with the great power of martial Dao. Although it is not high, only 1/10, her cultivation is already the 8th layer of the Spirit Sea realm, and she has also practiced profound rank high-grade martial arts. She will definitely be able to defeat Luo Mu. The inner palace disciples said excitedly. It seems that today is a good day. On the high platform, the people laughed. He was able to send away several top 100 seedlings from the outer palace in succession. Damn, what kind of luck is this? Wang Sanjiu couldn't help but pat the handle of the chair. If this continues, the top 100 of the outer palace will really be in the single digits. Is it my turn? Luo Mu absorbed the harvest just now while walking to the
field.
Chapter 54. On the field, a red-dressed figure fell. She had a graceful figure and a pretty face. Especially between her eyebrows, there was a bit of heroism. It was obvious that she was from a military family. Xing Hongying. She is currently ranked 36th in the inner palace. Although her ranking is not high, she is a demon who has realized the great trend of martial Dao after all, and her strength is still very strong. Her hands are full of cloth strips, all the way to her shoulders. There is no martial arts in front of her or behind her. Obviously, she is practicing fist and palm kung fu. I just don't know what kind it is. Does the 9th prince think this boy can win? The elder glanced at the 9th prince. Yes. The 9th prince nodded without hesitation. So trusting? The elder was surprised. Judging from the intelligence information, although this boy can realize the great trend of martial Dao in the true acupoint realm, he only realized it earlier. In terms of comprehensive strength, Xing Hongying should be much stronger. The 9th prince did not answer, but showed a beautiful smile. In his opinion, since Luo Mu could improve his cultivation to the 3rd layer of Spirit Sea realm in such a short time, then the martial Dao might not be improved. Why is it always standing still? Tata. Luo Mu walked into the arena. Seeing that his opponent was a woman, his eyebrows raised slightly. So far, he seemed to have never fought with a woman. You are Luo Mu. 980, Xing Hongying said. Yes. Luo Mu nodded slightly. Yesterday, you defeated Qin Longyu without using the sword force. Your strength is indeed good. But can you still hide when you meet me today? Xing Hongying clenched his fists. The fist force in his body also emerged. Maybe, there is no need to use it. Luo Mu smiled slightly. It's just a 10% fist force. He can defeat her with the Wuxing Sword Sutra alone. Of course, it's definitely not the level of yesterday. He has to use 3000 Wuxing Saber Qi and go all out. The Wuxing Sword Sutra has been derived by him to profound rank high grade, and it is an apex level existence in high grade. It is no exaggeration to say that it is infinitely close to Earth rank. Ordinary high-grade martial arts, if there is only a 10% increase in fist force, the power exerted is really not as good as the natural Sword Sutra. As soon as these words came out, the whole audience was in an uproar. This is too arrogant. Want to defeat Xing Hongying without using sword force? It's just a dream. Relying on the Wuxing Sword Sutra yesterday? How is it possible? No matter how strong the Wuxing Sword Sutra is, it is only profound rank middle grade, or comparable to ordinary high grade, and Xing Hongying practiced high grade. In addition, there are advantages in various aspects. Why can you win without using the sword? You have to have the capital to be arrogant. Haha, Wang Sanjiu, you Outer Palace disciples are probably crazy. Zhang Xian couldn't help but say. What's crazy? Just watch. Wang Sanjiu's mouth twitched. Although I don't know where Luo Mu got the confidence from, I feel a little arrogant. But at this time, I must pretend to be calm and stand firmly on Luo Mu's side. You kid, don't brag. Wang Sanjiu looked at Luo Mu in the field and couldn't help but clench his fists. Otherwise, it would be a shame. How dare you? Hearing this, Xing Hongying was stunned at first, and then her pretty face was full of anger. Her full chest was heaving up and down with anger. She was the 36th of the inner palace. How could she be looked down upon like this? I must teach this kid a lesson. Take my punch. Falling flowers fist e flowers fall. Xinhangying's speed was very fast. In a flash, she arrived in front of Luo Mu. A punch was thrown, and it was like thousands of flowers falling, with fist shadows densely packed. Not bad. Luo Mu's eyes lit up, and he was happy to see the prey. So far, he had never seen such a strong boxing method. Extreme sword style. 3,000 saber chi surged. A knife slashed out, and there were dense blade lights. It took only half a breath. The two's moves had collided hundreds of times. What a fast knife. What a strong knife. How is it possible? Xinhangying was shocked. She didn't expect Luo Mu to be able to block her punches. And there was no increase in the knife's power. There was no time to think. Xinhangying used martial arts again. At this moment, her anger had subsided a lot, and she was full of solemnity. Maybe this person is not bragging. I must be careful. Phantom magic, residual light. For a moment, Xinhangying's body shook and became extremely blurred, and dozens of figures appeared on the field. It was hard to tell the real from the fake. How is it possible? Many people were stunned. It stands to reason that Luo Mu should have fallen down directly after that punch just now. How come he stood there and didn't move at all? On the contrary, Xinhangying used another profound rank high-grade martial arts. Phantom magic. This is a martial art of body movement. Even if it is practiced to basic accomplishment, it is extremely exquisite and difficult to tell whether it is true or false. Isn't the power of this Wushang Daojing a little bit wrong? An elder of the academy frowned. Although Wushang Daojing is strong, it is only in the ranks of profound rank middle grade. How can it block falling flower divine fist? And it is under the condition of fist power amplification. Thinking of this, many senior executives and representatives of the family who originally responded to the mentality of watching the show narrowed their eyes, staring at the field intently. Phantom magic? Luo Mu had never heard of this martial art, but it seems to be a body movement. He scanned these blurred phantoms and couldn't tell the real from the fake for a while. Dozens of phantoms attacked together. Luo Mu fought back with the extreme sword style. The sword light was continuous, covering all directions, impenetrable. Not bad martial arts. Luo Mu's eyes flashed with praise. Although there were dozens of them, the strength of each phantom would not be much weaker than before. If there is a chance, I have to learn it in the future. After all, my only shortcoming now, it should be the body movement. Luo Mu, can you tell the real from the fake? Xinhangying's voice came from the mouth of each phantom, one wave after another, rolling in. Why do you need to tell it apart? Luo Mu's mouth corners slightly raised. When I derived the Wuxing Sword Sutra, those moves were not created in vain. Thinking of this, Luo Mu turned the blade and inserted it fiercely into the ground. Wuxing Sword Sutra, use sword style. Boom. The earth shook, swept by an invisible wave of ripples. Then a shocking scene appeared, and saber chi floated out from the ground, densely packed. There were 3,000 of them. The strong killing aura surged and covered the sky. What? The audience seats and the podium could no longer sit still. They stood up one by one. There was disbelief in their eyes. Isn't there only 100 saber chi in the Wuxing Sword Sutra? But what's going on now? It completely exceeded the number of 100, and even increased by 30 times. 3,000. Is this the Wuxing Sword Sutra? Zhang Xian blurted out. For the first time, Wang Sanjiu didn't answer him. The old face was full of shock, because he couldn't explain the current situation. How can there be so many saber chi? Interesting, this kid has derived the Wuxing Sword Sutra to the level of profound rank high grade. No, it should be infinitely close to earth rank. The voice of the great elder sounded. It echoed over the square and fell into everyone's ears. The great elder has the highest cultivation and naturally has the richest knowledge. At first, he was stunned for a while, but then he found the difference. Derivation? When this was said, the whole audience was shocked again. This is even more outrageous than realizing the sword force. Can a disciple deduce martial arts? And it's profound rank martial arts. Not to mention the disciples, even many elders can't do it. My God, is senior brother Luo really a human? Someone swallowed hard. Remember that there is no high-grade martial arts, so senior brother Luo chose to deduce it? Suddenly a voice sounded. Hearing this, everyone was shocked. Yes, if there is, who would waste time to deduce? Wouldn't it be better to practice the ready-made ones? But if there is no one, I have to rely on my own deduction. What an exaggerated understanding and team spirit are needed to do it. On the field, Xinhangying was completely confused. She knew about the Wuxing Sword Sutra. Isn't it the highest 100 saber chi? But now 100? There are thousands. And the power of each saber chi is so strong that it is outrageous. If it is gathered into one sword, it is unimaginable. Kill. Luo Mu's calm voice sounded. The originally quiet saber chi seemed to wake up in an instant, opened his eyes, and murderous intent filled the sky, transformed into an endless river of saber chi, sweeping towards dozens of phantoms. Luo Mu had never been exposed to this martial art before, and it was indeed difficult to distinguish the real from the fake in a short period of time, but it didn't matter if he couldn't tell the difference. Just chop them all up. Bang, bang, bang. The phantoms shattered one by one. In the end, only one remained. It was Xianxia. At this moment, her face was extremely solemn. This was definitely not the Wuxing Dao Jing, at least not the one she knew. This kind of power far exceeded ordinary high-grade martial arts, and was almost infinitely close to Earth rank. No wonder I couldn't resist it even if I used my fist. Damn it. Xianxia finally understood why this person said that he didn't need to use the sword. With such a powerful martial art, it really didn't need to be used. It would be great if my fist could reach the 20% level. Xianxia gritted her teeth. The 10% increase in fist power was still too little, and 20% would definitely be enough to resist. Wow, it was like a whale sucking water. After crushing all the phantoms, all saber chi returned to 2.8 in Luo Mu's blade. Ba Dao style. Luo Mu struck out again. Unlike yesterday, this was a terrifying saber chi formed by the fusion of 3,000 saber chi, extremely domineering and powerful. Cut. A knife light nearly hundreds of meters long suddenly appeared. Cut it down on Xianxia's head. Falling flower divine fist, shaking the mountain infinite. Facing this knife, Xianxia had no confidence in resisting, but as a descendant of Wu Yanghe, she would not give up until the last moment. Two fist lights burst out, collided with the knife light. Boom. The earth shook, sand and rocks flew, and countless gullies were crisscrossed. Wait for the knife light to dissipate. Xianxia knelt in the crack. The cloth strips on her arms broke, revealing countless scars, and blood flowed, and she herself fell into a coma. Hair was messy, swaying in the wind. In an instant, the whole audience was boiling. Brother Luo won. All the Outer Palace disciples were extremely excited. Xianxia was a famous evildoer in the Inner Palace. I thought Brother Luo would have a very hard time in this match. He might even lose. Who would have thought that Brother Luo still defeated Hongying without even using his sword? Brother Luo is mighty. The cheers were everywhere. On the other hand, the Inner Palace disciples were as silent as death. For the first time, they looked at Luo Mu with fear in their eyes. Chapter 55. He can suppress Xianxia without even using the sword. So how terrifying is Luo Mu's true strength? After a while, someone couldn't help but say, I don't know, but he must be very strong, even close to senior brother Huang. Someone else answered. At this moment, in the eyes of everyone, Luo Mu is no longer an arrogant person, but has iron strength. Sheathing the sword, Luo Mu immediately turned around and left. He still had a lot of battles to watch. It can't be wasted. When he came out, Luo Mu felt the scrutinizing gaze again, but this time, there was a solemnity in his gaze. Luo Mu smiled at the man. Now he naturally knew who the man with brown hair and brown eyes was. Li Jiani, who is currently ranked first in the Inner Palace. The peak of Spirit Sea Realm. Extremely strong. It is said that half a year ago, his body was already at the level of 6/10 of the sky. Now it is very likely that it has reached 89. It seems that we have all made a mistake. Huang Yuntian took a deep breath, his tone heavy. He actually deduced the Wuxing Dao Jing to the level of profound rank high grade, and even surpassed the ordinary high grade. Such talent is hard for us to reach. In my opinion, his sword power is definitely not 10% of the original, maybe 40% or 50%. It has come to this point. Anyone who still thinks that Luo Mu's sword power is only 10% is really a big idiot. Li Jiani retracted his gaze. No answer. 09 at this moment, he naturally would not underestimate Luo Mu again. This is definitely an opponent worthy of attention. Good boy. Wang Sanjiu jumped up directly, even excitedly punched on the spot. It's too well hidden. No wonder he dared to say such words. Zhang Xian, how is it? Wang Sanjiu looked at Zhang Xian. Zhang Xian opened his mouth, but turned his head away and said nothing. Just the fact that he was able to derive the Wuxing Dao Jing to the profound rank high grade, he was no longer qualified to comment on this talent. Damn, what luck did the Outer Palace have to meet such a disciple? Zhang Xian cursed in his heart. He wished he could drag Luo Mu to the Inner Palace. But of course this was impossible. If he dared to do this, the Outer Palace elders would probably chop him into a human stick. Just thinking of Huang Yuntian and Li Jiani, he relaxed a little. The martial arts these two practiced were also the best of the profound rank high grade. It would not be weaker than the Wuxing Dao Jing. Besides, there was more than 60% of the martial Dao trend. The chance of winning was definitely on the Inner Palace side. But this time, the Outer Palace had no problem breaking the previous record. With Luo Mu's current performance, he could definitely enter the top 30. Dad, senior brother Luo is too strong. Cheng Qingman was stunned. Cheng Tiansong beside him also had a look of surprise in his eyes. Deducing martial arts by oneself, this is done by a spirit sea realm, or a vacuum realm. Besides, it is a profound rank. It seems that I still underestimated this young man. Cheng Tiansong nodded slightly. No wonder your highness has always focused on this boy. It seems that there is a reason. The great elder stroked his white beard and smiled. I have met him once. When in Xuanyang City. The ninth prince said with a smile. At that time, he had already shown his talent, and I was deeply impressed. What I didn't expect was that his talent far exceeded my expectations. Only when he was in the spirit sea, or even the true acupoint realm, he deduced a profound rank martial art. No one in the imperial capital can do this. The voice was full of appreciation and strong desire. For a demon, it is not difficult to practice a profound rank martial art, but deducing and creating martial arts is not something that everyone can do. It requires unimaginable talent. It seems that it won't be long before another young marquis will appear in the 7 counties of Chang'an. The corner of the elder's mouth slightly raised. He naturally knew the purpose of the ninth prince's coming here, and they had already discussed it with each other. The palace master agreed. Help the ninth prince. And the ninth prince now has several marquee positions in his hands. As long as all aspects meet the standards, he can quickly become competent. At dusk, the second round, and even the third round, are over. There are still 625 people left. Luo Mu did not encounter a particularly strong opponent in the third round, and his strength is about the same as Qin Longyu. The man who came on the court looked defeated. In the past, meeting a disciple from the outer palace would make one very happy. For other people, that would also be a happy thing. But if the opponent is Luo Mu, he would not be happy at all. Now no one wants to be Luo Mu's opponent, except for those who rank very high in the inner palace. Just that swordsmanship. It is enough to make most people despair. Not bad. Luo Mu watched more than 2,000 battles in one day and gained a lot. Although he still did not touch the edge of the true meaning, but he had a strong feeling. As long as he kept watching like this, there was still a good chance. Spirit Sea Realm realized the true meaning of martial Tao. Luo Mu's eyes seemed to flash with fire. That was wild ambition. This is probably extremely rare in history, right? Luo Mu. Suddenly someone came over. Luo Mu regained his mind. He looked over. It was Xie Yunbai. His face was slightly pale, and it was obvious that Huang Yuntian's sword had hurt him badly. What's up? Luo Mu asked. Outer Palace, depends on you. Xie Yunbai slightly cupped his hands. His eyes were sincere. The luck of the Outer Palace this time was very bad, and most of them were ranked with the Inner Palace disciples. Many people were eliminated, including him. So this time, the top 100 in the Death Palace may not be able to keep their double-digit rankings. But if Luo Mu can enter the top 30, or even the top 10, then the Outer Palace can at least save face. I'll try my best. Luo Mu nodded slightly. This guy knew something about him. After all, he had been suppressed by his sword. Practice overnight. The fourth round began the next day. The further it went, the faster the rounds went. After all, there were fewer and fewer people. This also meant that the battles Luo Mu could watch were also decreasing. Although there were fewer rounds, the basic gains from each battle were increasing, because those who could get to this point were all outstanding. So the total gains of the day were basically the same, and might even be higher. And Luo Mu's luck was also very good. After round, he did not encounter a particularly strong opponent. He could win just by relying on swordsmanship. It made many people jealous and uncomfortable because they never knew Luo Mu's true strength and always felt uncertain in their hearts. There was another person in the same situation as Luo Mu. That was Li Jianyi. His swordsmanship was not inferior to Luo Mu's, and he could also defeat a martial artist who had become a martial Dao trend with his swordsmanship alone. Luo Mu looked at him. He saw the fighting spirit in Li Jianyi's eyes. He seemed to be saying, I am also very strong in swordsmanship. Li Jianyi's swordsmanship is one of the unique skills of the academy. Apex level and profound rank high grade. It is called Nine Heavens Mysterious Sword Art. It is said to be created by the 6th Palace Master. The power is amazing. But in the eyes of everyone, even if Li Jianyi has mastered the Nine Heavens Mysterious Sword Art, it is not as shocking as Luo Mu. After all, Luo Mu's martial arts are derived by himself. It was around noon. The grand ceremony battle has reached the 8th round. In this round, Luo Mu's luck ended, and he finally met a master. The second in the inner palace is Huang Yuntian. It's Huang Yuntian. This is interesting. Huang Yuntian's sword power has reached 60%, which is definitely not comparable to Xing Hongying and others. Now we can force out Luo Mu's true strength, right? After these rounds, Luo Mu's opponents are too weak. For a moment, the audience seats and the platform all focus their attention. Yes, I've been bored to death in these few rounds. Huang Yuntian stood up with a smile on his face. Although Luo Mu showed his outstanding strength and martial Dao background, but he didn't think he was weaker than Luo Mu. The finals belong to you and me. Huang Yuntian glanced at Li Jiani. I'll be back soon. You can read more daily new novels on fictionzone.net. Both sites share the same login details, so you don't need to sign up again. Chapter 55. He can suppress Xing Hongying without even using the sword. So how terrifying is Luo Mu's true strength? After a while, someone couldn't help but say, I don't know, but he must be very strong, even close to senior brother Huang. Someone else answered. At this moment, in the eyes of everyone, Luo Mu is no longer an arrogant person, but has iron strength. Sheathing the sword, Luo Mu immediately turned around and left. He still had a lot of battles to watch. It can't be wasted. When he came out, Luo Mu felt the scrutinizing gaze again. But this time, there was a solemnity in his gaze. Luo Mu smiled at the man. Now he naturally knew who the man with brown hair and brown eyes was. Li Jiani, who is currently ranked first in the Inner Palace. The peak of Spirit Sea Realm. Extremely strong. It is said that half a year ago, his body was already at the level of 6/10 of the sky. Now it is very likely that it has reached 89. It seems that we have all made a mistake. Huang Yuntian took a deep breath, his tone heavy. He actually deduced the Wuxing Dao Jing to the level of profound rank high grade, and even surpassed the ordinary high grade. Such talent is hard for us to reach. In my opinion, his sword power is definitely not 10% of the original, maybe 40% or 50%. It has come to this point. Anyone who still thinks that Luo Mu's sword power is only 10% is really a big idiot. Li Jiani retracted his gaze. No answer. 09 at this moment, he naturally would not underestimate Luo Mu again. This is definitely an opponent worthy of attention. Good boy. Wang Sanjiu jumped up directly, even excitedly punched on the spot. It's too well hidden. No wonder he dared to say such words. Zhang Xian, how is it? Wang Sanjiu looked at Zhang Xian. Zhang Xian opened his mouth, but turned his head away and said nothing. Just the fact that he was able to derive the Wuxing Dao Jing to the profound rank high grade, he was no longer qualified to comment on this talent. Damn, what luck did the Outer Palace have to meet such a disciple? Zhang Xian cursed in his heart. He wished he could drag Luo Mu to the Inner Palace. But of course this was impossible. If he dared to do this, the Outer Palace elders would probably chop him into a human stick. Just thinking of Huang Yuntian and Li Jiani, he relaxed a little. The martial arts these two practiced were also the best of the profound rank high grade. It would not be weaker than the Wuxing Dao Jing. Besides, there was more than 60% of the martial Dao trend. The chance of winning was definitely on the Inner Palace side. But this time, the Outer Palace had no problem breaking the previous record. With Luo Mu's current performance, he could definitely enter the top 30. Dad, senior brother Luo is too strong. Cheng Qingman was stunned. Cheng Tiansong beside him also had a look of surprise in his eyes. Deducing martial arts by oneself, this is done by a spirit sea realm, or a vacuum realm. Besides, it is a profound rank. It seems that I still underestimated this young man. Cheng Tiansong nodded slightly. No wonder your highness has always focused on this boy. It seems that there is a reason. The great elder stroked his white beard and smiled. I have met him once. When in Xuanyang City. The 9th prince said with a smile. At that time, he had already shown his talent, and I was deeply impressed. What I didn't expect was that his talent far exceeded my expectations. Only when he was in the spirit sea, or even the true acupoint realm, he deduced a profound rank martial art. No one in the imperial capital can do this. The voice was full of appreciation and strong desire. For a demon, it is not difficult to practice a profound rank martial art, but deducing and creating martial arts is not something that everyone can do. It requires unimaginable talent. It seems that it won't be long before another young marquis will appear in the 7 counties of Chang'an. The corner of the elder's mouth slightly raised. He naturally knew the purpose of the 9th prince's coming here, and they had already discussed it with each other. The palace master agreed. Help the 9th prince. And the 9th prince now has several marquee positions in his hands. As long as all aspects meet the standards, he can quickly become competent. At dusk, the 2nd round, and even the 3rd round, are over. There are still 625 people left. Luo Mu did not encounter a particularly strong opponent in the 3rd round, and his strength is about the same as Qin Longyu. The man who came on the court looked defeated. In the past, meeting a disciple from the Outer Palace would make one very happy. For other people, that would also be a happy thing. But if the opponent is Luo Mu, he would not be happy at all. Now no one wants to be Luo Mu's opponent, except for those who rank very high in the Inner Palace. Just that swordsmanship. It is enough to make most people despair. Not bad. Luo Mu watched more than 2,000 battles in one day and gained a lot. Although he still did not touch the edge of the true meaning. but he had a strong feeling. As long as he kept watching like this, there was still a good chance. Spirit Sea Realm realized the true meaning of martial Tao. Luo Mu's eyes seemed to flash with fire. That was wild ambition. This is probably extremely rare in history, right? Luo Mu. Suddenly someone came over. Luo Mu regained his mind. He looked over. It was Xie Yunbai. His face was slightly pale, and it was obvious that Huang Yuntian's sword had hurt him badly. What's up? Luo Mu asked. Outer Palace. Depends on you. Xie Yunbai slightly cupped his hands. His eyes were sincere. The luck of the Outer Palace this time was very bad, and most of them were ranked with the Inner Palace disciples. Many people were eliminated, including him. So this time, the top 100 in the Death Palace may not be able to keep their double-digit rankings. But if Luo Mu can enter the top 30, or even the top 10, then the Outer Palace can at least save face. I'll try my best. Luo Mu nodded slightly. This guy knew something about him. After all, he had been suppressed by his sword. Practice overnight. The fourth round began the next day. The further it went, the faster the rounds went. After all, there were fewer and fewer people. This also meant that the battles Luo Mu could watch were also decreasing. Although there were fewer rounds, the basic gains from each battle were increasing, because those who could get to this point were all outstanding. So the total gains of the day were basically the same, and might even be higher. And Luo Mu's luck was also very good. After round, he did not encounter a particularly strong opponent. He could win just by relying on swordsmanship. It made many people jealous and uncomfortable, because they never knew Luo Mu's true strength, and always felt uncertain in their hearts. There was another person in the same situation as Luo Mu. That was Li Jiani. His swordsmanship was not inferior to Luo Mu's, and he could also defeat a martial artist who had become a martial Tao trend with his swordsmanship alone. Luo Mu looked at him. He saw the fighting spirit in Li Jiani's eyes. He seemed to be saying, I am also very strong in swordsmanship. Li Jiani's swordsmanship is one of the unique skills of the Academy. Apex level and profound rank high grade. It is called Nine Heavens Mysterious Sword Art. It is said to be created by the 6th Palace Master. The power is amazing. But in the eyes of everyone, even if Li Jiani has mastered the Nine Heavens Mysterious Sword Art, it is not as shocking as Luo Mu. After all, Luo Mu's martial arts are derived by himself. It was around noon. The grand ceremony battle has reached the 8th round. In this round, Luo Mu's luck ended, and he finally met a master. The second in the Inner Palace is Huang Yuntian. It's Huang Yuntian. This is interesting. Huang Yuntian's sword power has reached 60%, which is definitely not comparable to Xing Hongying and others. Now we can force out Luo Mu's true strength, right? After these rounds, Luo Mu's opponents are too weak. For a moment, the audience seats and the platform all focused their attention. Yes, I've been bored to death in these few rounds. Huang Yuntian stood up with a smile on his face. Although Luo Mu showed his outstanding strength and martial Tao background, but he didn't think he was weaker than Luo Mu. The finals belong to you and me. Huang Yuntian glanced at Li Jiani. I'll be back soon. You can read more daily new novels on fictionzone.net. Both sites shared the same login details, so you don't need to sign up again. Chapter 57. Luo Mu walked off the field. He was surrounded by awe, even fanatical eyes. Brother Luo. The Outer Palace disciples made way. This gave Luo Mu a headache. He just wanted to watch the battles in other fields quietly, but the dense eyes around him made him uncomfortable. There will be more such situations in the future, and I have to adapt. Luo Mu took a deep breath, smiled at everyone, and then walked not far away. He folded his arms and began to wait for the next battle. Soon, the 8th round ended and entered the 9th round. And this round, Luo Mu was very lucky to have a bye. As for Li Jiani, he showed great strength and did not use his sword power to suppress his opponent directly. When he won, he also looked at Luo Mu. The fighting spirit was strong. It seemed to tell everyone that he, Li Jiani, was still there. The Inner Palace disciples who were originally a little depressed suddenly had hope and became active again. We still have Brother Li. The first place is definitely ours. Many Inner Palace disciples said. Luo Mu's appearance has completely changed everyone's mind. In the past, the Outer Palace was not allowed to enter the top 100 or top 30, but now, it is to keep the first place. Ding! You watched a battle, got some insights, triggered a critical strike, and got 100 times the reward. In his mind, a reminder sounded. Luo Mu showed a satisfied smile on his face and took another big step forward with his tenfold sword. And, after this harvest, he finally felt something different. It's hard to explain. Anyway, it's extremely profound and mysterious. Could it be the edge of the true meaning? Luo Mu's heart suddenly became excited. It's worth it that he has been concentrating on watching thousands of battles in the past 2 days. Finally arrived at the door, only half a step away. Just want to step into the door. But it's not that easy. It may require far more insights than these thousands of games. Things are in people's hands, and the road is under your feet. Luo Mu took a deep breath. Continue to watch the few remaining battles. As for the eyes or opinions of others, he doesn't care at all. Completely immersed in his own world. He just wanted to practice well. The 10th round. The 11th round. The opponent he met, after finding out it was Luo Mu, chose to give up directly, without even fighting. This made the process much faster. The same thing happened to Li Jiani. At dusk, the 12th round ended. There were only 2 people left, Luo Mu and Li Jiani. Everyone's eyes were on the 2 of them. One was the current number 1 in the outer palace. The other was the number 1 in the inner palace. Everyone was looking forward to the battle between the 2. It was just that this was the final battle. We had to wait until tomorrow. The next day, breaking dawn, with rays of light. The deep sound of bells swept across the land of the academy. Streams of light fell on the high platform, and the surrounding audience seats were soon filled with people. Today was the decisive battle. It was also the most pinnacle battle of this ceremony. I didn't expect that the decisive battle this time was not between senior brother Li and senior brother Huang, but a disciple from the outer palace. This has never happened in the history of our school. Yes, even when Xueyong was young, he didn't make it into the top 30. Lord Xueyong is a late bloomer, and he started to work hard in the middle. When he was young, he didn't perform particularly well. Everyone was discussing. I don't know who will win in the end. It should be senior brother Li. After all, senior brother Li's strength is unquestionable. It is said that he is also 90% sword-like. But Luo Mu is at least 90%, maybe 100%. Don't worry too much. Don't forget that senior brother Li was born in the Anshan kingly family and has the power of blood. When these words came out, many people were suddenly enlightened. Yes, I forgot about this. King Anshan is a natural noble. It is said that he can be traced back to the founding of the Great Zhou Divine Sovereign. His ancestors were once the most apex-level people in the dynasty. He is powerful and his bloodline is not dispersed. It has been passed down since then, and the power of bloodline is very domineering and unreasonable. Luo Mu came from not far away. There was a look of pity in his eyes. He didn't expect that the decisive battle would come so soon. If only he could watch the battle for a few more days. Opportunities like the grand ceremony are really hard to come by at ordinary times. On the central high platform, the figures of the Great Elder and the 9th Prince appeared. Meet the Great Elder, His Highness Yin Tingzi. Everyone stood up and bowed. The Great Elder did not respond. Instead, he turned around and saluted the sky. Palace Master. The moment the voice fell, the sea of clouds in the sky surged and turned into an extremely huge face, overlooking the world. Greetings to the Palace Master. Seeing this, everyone was shocked and hurriedly saluted again. I didn't expect it to be the legendary Palace Master. Why is it called legendary? Because the Palace Master has been practicing in seclusion for many years, he will never appear in the public eye. Most disciples have been enrolled in the academy for 3 years and have never seen him once. But today he appeared for the first time. I didn't expect that my Chang'e Academy would have 2 top monsters in this ceremony. It is really a blessing for the academy. As the Palace Master, I will naturally not be absent. The voice, like a huge bell, came from the depths of the sea of clouds and passed down layer by layer. It resounded between heaven and earth. It was deafening. What kind of cultivation is the Palace Master? Just a voice made my heart tremble, my hands and feet cold, and it seemed that I had lost control of my body. Someone couldn't help but whispered, I don't know, but he must have entered the late stage of martial Dao, which is beyond our imagination. For the world, Spirit Sea Realm is already a leader, and Profound Core Realm is the ceiling. As for higher, that's basically something I've never seen before. It's the same as a legend. Is this the Palace Master? Luo Mu's eyes narrowed slightly. His feelings were the same as others. The face in the sky can be described as unfathomable. One day in the future, I can become such a strong man. Luo Mu felt a desire in his heart. Today's platform is different from before, and it has become a little closer. Everyone no longer watches from a distance, but takes the initiative to approach. I hope to see more clearly. For example, blood-brave Marquis Cheng Tiansong. Before, he and Cheng Qingman stayed at the back. Today, they are very close. This also allowed many people to finally see the face of blood-brave Marquis. I didn't expect that blood-brave Marquis would come too. This is the famous Marquis of our Chang'e 7 counties. Someone said excitedly. I haven't seen him these 2 days, and I thought he didn't come to watch the ceremony. I hope my performance will catch his eye. What's your rank? At the end of yesterday, I was ranked 53rd. Not bad, there's a good chance. On the high platform, the 9th Prince and Cheng Tiansong looked at each other and nodded slightly. During this period of time, with his promise, he has reached an agreement with most of the princes and nobles in the 7 counties of Chang'an. Today is the last battle of the ceremony. 2 disciples go on stage. The elder turned around. The voice echoed in the huge square. After the words fell, Luo Mu walked forward, and Li Jiani in the distance did the same. When the 2 entered the venue, the formation rose as usual, but there were 2 more. Obviously, in the eyes of the academy, the battle between these 2 disciples would definitely exceed any previous battle. Not many layers of defense array. Something will really happen. Don't hide in today's battle, and show your best. The first place can get 3 extra Tianwu orders. The great elder said. The rewards for the grand ceremony have been temporarily increased. Hiss. As soon as these words fell, there was a continuous sound of sucking in cold air. Many people's eyes turned red. Deep in the academy, there is a Tianwu treasury, which is similar to the martial arts building. But there is no comparison between the 2. Tianwu treasury. It is the largest arsenal in the academy. It not only has profound rank high-grade martial arts, but also earth rank, including martial arts, secret arts, etc. There are so many things to see and so many to count. And 3 Tianwu orders mean that you can enter the treasury and choose 3 earth rank martial arts at will. In the past ceremonies, the first place in the ranking can only choose 1 earth rank martial art. But now there are 3 more Tianwu orders. Luo Mu and Li Jiani, who are calm, can't help but look up. They are shocked. This is a big deal, especially for Luo Mu. He was born in a small family, so his martial arts foundation was naturally not high. He had no chance to get in touch with the earth rank level. But now he just had to win this game. Whether it was earth rank martial arts, body, Audiobook, techniques, or body refining, he could learn them, not just one. Thinking of this, Luo Mu's mouth suddenly raised. He seemed to have more expectations. The grand ceremony and the decisive battle. Begin. The elder gave an order. The atmosphere in the whole venue suddenly became hot. Everyone's eyes fell on the 2 of them. This represented the peak battle of the inner and outer palaces. Who would win? Your appearance surprised me, but... Li Jiani raised his right hand slightly. The long sword behind him was unsheathed and fell into his hand. The final winner is still me. After the words fell, 90% of the sword power surged out from Li Jiani's body. The ground under his feet could not bear it and broke into pieces. 90% of the sword power. Most people already knew that Li Jiani's sword power was at the 90% level, so they were not too surprised. Their eyes turned to Luo Mu. Although Luo Mu suppressed Huang Yuntian yesterday, his own sword power was at least 90%. But it was not a certain number. It could be. It's good to have confidence, but... Luo Mu put his right hand on the hilt of the knife, and his eyes gradually became more domineering from the casualness just now. It was like a peerless swordsman who had awakened. At the same time, the sword power in his body began to surge. This was the first time he had truly used the sword power. Boom. The next second, the field shook, and the formation shook. The terrifying blade force was released without reservation. It was 100%. Li Jiani subconsciously took a half step back under the impact of such blade force. 100%. The audience and even the surrounding platforms all cried out in surprise. Although he had expected it, he was still shocked when he saw it. Only Spirit Sea Realm 3rd layer. In just over a month, the blade force was raised from 10% to 100%. What a terrifying comprehension it takes to do this. Looking back at history, it seems hard to find a second one. You are indeed 100% perfect. Li Jiani held the hilt of the sword tightly with his right hand, and his eyes were filled with great solemnity. It's not easy to meet an opponent like you. Please do your best, and don't lose too quickly. Luo Mu slowly drew out the spirit sword. The eyes were like torches. Indeed, the opponents he had met before were too weak, and there was no one who could make him fight with all his strength. Only Li Jiani is qualified. Losing too quickly? Do you really think you have a sure win? Be careful of a gust of wind. Hearing this, Li Jiani took a deep breath. So far, this is the first time he has heard someone dare to say this to him. But this person really has the confidence to say this. Come on. Li Jiani took the initiative to rush towards Luo Mu. The sword in his hand flashed, and the sharp energy swept through his hand, overlord sword style. 3,000 saber chi surged, turning into a terrifying sword. Down on the head. Bang. Li Jiani was directly repelled nearly 100 meters. Blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. The further the sword force goes, the greater the improvement, especially from 90% to 100%. The gap is very exaggerated. Just one sword, can't I hold on? Li Jiani's face flashed with unwillingness. Is this the sword power of the perfect level? The power is too terrible. Senior brother Li can't even withstand a single sword strike. The inner palace disciples who were still cheering for Li Jiani all stopped talking as if their necks were stuck. A gloomy look appeared. Is it still useless? After a night of rest, Huang Yuntian was no longer in any serious condition, not to mention that he didn't suffer any injuries yesterday. He looked at Li Jiani with a frown. Although he didn't know what Li Jiani's bloodline was, it would definitely help. Now he doesn't use the power of bloodline anymore. He will definitely lose. Almost at the moment when the voice fell. On the field, Li Jiani suddenly roared, and blood-colored lines appeared on his body, as if an inexplicable force had descended. At the same time, a new sword force appeared on Li Jiani, and it was 100% sword force. Boom. The field shook, sand and rocks flew, directly competing with Luo Mu's 100% sword force. Each occupied half of the sky. Interesting. Luo Mu raised his eyebrows slightly. There was no panic in his heart, and he even gradually became interested, in the will to fight. If Li Jiani was only at the level just now, then this battle was destined to be boring. Is it the power of blood? The sword force of the predecessors? Information about the bloodline emerged in Luo Mu's mind. I remember that in the previous miscellaneous studies class, the teacher said that when the ancestor is strong enough, blood will be produced, and the descendants can obtain the martial arts of the ancestor during his lifetime by developing the blood. Martial Dao Xuanyao, etc. Take martial arts as an example. Once inherited, it will be directly perfect, and there is no need to practice. Martial Dao Xuanyao refers to the great trend of martial Dao and the true meaning of martial Dao. If it can be inherited, it is the same. Therefore, the strength of bloodline people is very strong and has a very high status in the dynasty. Ordinary people may not be able to achieve it after practicing for most of their lives, but bloodline people only need to develop their bloodline a little bit to easily obtain it. The gap between them can be imagined. That is the power of bloodline. On the high platform, everyone widened their eyes. In the 7 counties of Chang'an, nobles and princes are very rare, only the Anshan king's family. Therefore, bloodline people are usually not seen at all. I didn't expect that I would finally have a good time today. That is the sword power of the ancestors of the Li family, which was inherited by Li Jiani. Yes, and it is more than the sword force level. The complete form should be the true meaning. However, Li Jiani's cultivation is too low and he cannot bear it, and finally he only stays at the full sword force. Bloodline people are really enviable. We can't even comprehend the general trend of martial Dao, but they can inherit it. There was endless discussion, some with envy, some with jealousy. But this battle has become interesting. 10% against 10%. It's still unknown who will win or lose. Just now, Li Jiani was cut back by a sword, and everyone thought the outcome was set. Who would have thought that Li Jiani's bloodline power was actually 10% sword force? On the field, Luo Mu stared at Li Jiani's 10% sword force. The eyes became brighter and brighter. Li Jiani inherited not only sword force, but should be higher. So from this 10% sword force, many mysteries can be seen. That is the trace of true intention. He is now only half a step away from blade intent. If he can gain some insights by observing the sword force of Li Jiani's predecessors, maybe he can take that half step. Today, comprehend the supreme blade. Intent. Chapter 58. Wang Sanjiu, I told you not to laugh too early. On the high platform, Xianxia finally regained a city and was in a good mood. 100% versus 100%. Their backgrounds are similar. There is no reason for Li Jiani to lose. The two are now evenly matched. Just watch, I have full confidence in that kid. All along the way, Wang Sanjiu no longer had any doubts, because he saw the invincible aura in Luo Mu. Luo Mu, come and fight. Li Jiani made a sword flower with his right hand, and a strong fighting spirit appeared on his blood-stained face, and a touch of struggle. After all, this is the power of the predecessors. Although he can inherit it, it is not so easy to use it at will. There is still some rejection with himself, but it is still possible to hold on for a quarter of an hour. I am very happy. Luo Mu raised his lips. His eyes were fixed on Li Jiani's sword moves. He began to comprehend. With his current understanding of swordsmanship, he soon had some insights. OJ, you comprehend the sword moves of your predecessors, and you will have some insights. Trigger a critical strike and gain 30 times the reward. Many insights instantly flooded into his mind. The 100% sword moves that had been stagnant rose again. Come. Li Jiani's figure flashed and rushed towards Luo Mu. Luo Mu was the same. The two of them jumped up. Boom. In the center of the field, the terrifying knife light and the sharp sword light collided instantly, causing ripples and forming a formation. In just a breath, the swords of the two had already collided hundreds of times. 9 Heaven's mysterious sword. Extreme sword style. The speed of the two swords was almost too fast for the naked eye to catch up. Bang! Li Jiani retreated more than 10 steps. There was a shock in his eyes. Now that the sword force has reached 100%, it stands to reason that he should have a little more advantage. After all, his cultivation is the 9th layer of Spirit Sea Realm. and Luo Mu is only the third layer. But when they really fought, it was not what he imagined at all. Luo Mu had too much combat experience, and every time he drew his sword, the angle was extremely tricky, making it difficult for him to react. Over time, it was already Luo Mu's offensive rhythm, and he could only defend continuously. In battle, distraction will kill you. A cold voice sounded, and Li Jiani looked up suddenly, but faced Luo Mu's indifferent eyes. Stop teaching me. Li Jiani was indignant and fought back. This Luo Mu has a lot of combat experience. In the sky, many big shots looked surprised. They have rich experience, so they can see a lot. Luo Mu is like a veteran general, while Li Jiani, who has a lot of cultivation, is like a flower in a greenhouse. The difference between the two is obvious when they fight. The disciples of the academy often practice in the palace, so they have little combat experience. This is understandable, and they can make up for it later. But Luo Mu is also a disciple of the academy. Why does he have such rich combat experience? Like a veteran, on the field, Luo Mu overwhelmed Li Jiani and beat him back. In every previous battle, he got not only martial arts insights, but also a lot of combat experience. Now accumulated, integrated, it has become his instinct. This is difficult for most academy disciples to have. At least not at this stage. Li Jiani couldn't stand the feeling of being completely suppressed. He held the sword with both hands and tried to fight back Luo Mu by exchanging injuries for injuries, so as to get a chance to breathe. However, Luo Mu had no intention of dodging at all. The two men's weapons slashed directly at each other's chest. Boom. Li Jiani flew out again, spit out a mouthful of blood. Struggling to get up, he looked at Luo Mu with shock in his eyes. How is it possible? At this moment, Luo Mu's body gradually burned with flames, turning into a red flame armor that wrapped his whole body. It was like an ancient god who walked out of the flames, majestic, overwhelming the mountains and rivers. Xianxia tyrant body skill. Li Jiani couldn't believe it. He didn't expect Luo Mu to practice a body-refining skill, and practiced it to perfection. No wonder he didn't dodge just now. Gongqi, fire armor, and flesh. It was completely the third-layer defense. As for the fact that he could block Luo Mu's knife, it was because he was wearing a close-fitting armor that was enough to withstand many powerful attacks. In the early stage of martial Dao practice, because of limited time and energy, it was impossible to take care of all aspects. The body-refining martial arts consumes a lot of resources and time. Therefore, most martial artists will not choose it, and will only make up for it later. But Luo Mu has already mastered it. Has the qi been broken? Luo Mu looked at his chest. The qi that was originally leak-free in the primordial origin has already had a huge crack, until it was forcibly blocked by the fire armor on his chest. This is the first time that the qi has been broken, and there are deep marks on the fire armor. But it is understandable, after all, the opponent is Li Jiani. If the sword force of 100% cannot break the qi, it would be too weak. But he still has the fire armor and the strength of his body. When fighting, he doesn't have to worry too much about defense. Just attack with all his strength. Come again. While fighting, Luo Mu observed the sword force of Li Jiani's predecessors. However, after a few dozen breaths, he has already gained a lot and is moving rapidly towards a higher level. The premonition in my heart became stronger and stronger. A breakthrough is imminent. In the square, wherever Luo Mu walked, the flames burned and the fire shot up into the sky. The spiritual sword in his hand was even more domineering and unparalleled, carrying the power to sweep across the 8 wastelands and sweep across the 6 directions. He beat Li Jiani so hard that he couldn't say anything. I thought that with the sword power of the predecessors, at least there would be a return. Who would have thought that it would still be like this, crushing? Everyone around was also stunned. Is this Luo Mu's true strength? Under full power, it is simply terrifying. Compared to yesterday and the day before, he is completely different. This guy. Huang Yuntian swallowed his saliva and was very glad that he didn't face Luo Mu like this. That feeling was absolutely desperate. Although he was not on the court, he could clearly feel Li Jiani's mood at the moment. So that's it. There is such a way of thinking. Luo Mu held the knife and kept attacking. When he got close, Ji Jiani heard Luo Mu's muttering. What is this guy talking about? Li Jiani was a little confused. What is so that's it, and what is this kind of thinking? Shouldn't you be focused in battle? Was your attention distracted just now? Thinking of this, Li Jiani felt endless humiliation in his heart. How dare this guy? He was distracted in the battle with him, and it seems that it has been like this since the beginning, and he has never been fully focused. But in this state, he can still suppress him. Don't be distracted. Suddenly Luo Mu's voice sounded. Hearing this, Li Jiani almost vomited blood. F***ku. You are distracted yourself, and you still tell others not to be distracted. Do you want to listen to what you are saying? But he really dared not be distracted. Luo Mu's knife is too domineering, completely beyond the realm. If he is a little careless, he will be chopped. and it is a vital place. Luo Mu had a reason to remind him. He hoped that Li Jinni could hold on longer, so that he could have more time to observe Li Jinni's previous sword moves. He had more and more insights in his mind. His understanding of the true meaning of martial Tao also began to deepen. It's almost there. It's almost there. The surroundings gradually became quiet, especially the inner palace disciples. Although Li Jinni was still holding on, but the ending was already doomed. With Luo Mu's strength, he should be able to get rid of Li Jinni. Why are you still fighting? On the high platform, a big man frowned. Li Jinni was in a state of decline, completely trapped in Luo Mu's offensive rhythm, and couldn't fight back at all. In theory, as long as Luo Mu seized the opportunity and hit with all his strength, Li Jinni would definitely lose. But Luo Mu deliberately slowed down his strength at every critical moment. I don't know, is it a joke? Someone said. Not really, there is no hatred between the two. How can there be a joke? For a while, doubts arose. Time passed by little. In the blink of an eye, it was already a quarter of an hour, and Li Jinni finally couldn't hold on any longer. His full sword power dissipated, his knees softened, and he knelt on the ground. He raised his head with difficulty and looked at Luo Mu, waiting for the final decision. But Luo Mu stood not far away, his eyes closed. A grand voice sounded in his mind. OJ, you observed the sword power of your predecessors in the battle, and you felt enlightenment in your heart, and a flash of inspiration came. Trigger. 1,000 times critical strike. Boom. An unimaginable amount of enlightenment suddenly emerged. All of them are the truth of the sword. They were absorbed by Luo Mu crazily. Ha ha ha. So that's it. Luo Mu opened his eyes and laughed up to the sky. At this moment, he finally took that half step that seemed very close, but was actually very far away, and successfully walked into the door of the true meaning of martial Tao. What happened to Luo Mu? Everyone looked around, not knowing why. Why would someone suddenly say such a thing? However, the next second, the swords on many people's waists began to tremble. No matter how hard they pressed, they could not calm down. Even, swish, swish, swish. One after another, the swords came out of their sheaths, passed through the formation, and were inserted on the field, with the handles facing Luo Mu, looking like they were surrendering. On the high platform, heavy breathing sounds were heard everywhere. One by one, they walked to the edge, and their eyes gradually showed disbelief and even shock. As a big shot. 0, please give me flowers. How could they not know what this meant? Even the great elder, Cheng Tiansong, and the 9th prince were slightly stunned. Their pupils suddenly shrank, and they were filled with strong shock. Boom. Luo Mu's black hair danced wildly. The eyes were fierce. The ground behind him cracked, and an illusory giant sword slowly emerged, standing between heaven and earth. Terror ripples swept out from the illusory giant sword. The 3 defensive formations raised for the decisive battle were broken one after another, turning into light spots and dissipating. And everyone felt like they were carrying a mountain. Even in the spirit sea realm, the body was extremely heavy and could not move at all. And all the swords in the square took off, turning into a mighty river of sword light, rotating around the illusory giant sword. 10,000 swords facing the master. This is blade intent. Someone uttered these 2 words in a trembling voice. Blade intent? Everyone who heard it gasped and was stunned. Blade intent? How is it possible? This is far above the martial Tao, the true meaning of the martial Tao, the supreme mystery that countless martial artists dream of. Even profound core realm martial artists can hardly reach it. But now it has appeared in a spirit sea realm. My God, after practicing for so long, is this the reincarnation of the martial god? Someone murmured, opened his mouth wide. It was only 100% perfect before, but after a battle, he broke through to the true meaning of the martial Tao. Are you kidding? Is the true meaning of the martial Tao so easy to step into? No one will believe it if you tell it to others. If you don't see it with your own eyes, you will never believe it. Oh, maybe I understand why he has to fight for so long. He could have defeated Li Jinni a long time ago. A big shot spoke. Why? Hearing this, everyone looked at him. Li Jinni's bloodline power is quite rare. It is the sword intent of the predecessors. However, because of his low cultivation, it is reduced to 100% sword power, but there are still traces of true meaning in this sword power. So Luo Mu is observing. He has been observing Li Jinni's sword power, comprehending the mystery. After this was said, everyone finally understood. Why did Luo Mu, who clearly showed an invincible momentum, have to fight for so long? This is completely treating Li Jinni as an observation stone. It's too exaggerated. This is Li Jinni, not some cat or dog. He can actually fight and observe at the same time. This is not the most exaggerated thing. The most exaggerated thing is that he took the most difficult step just by observing the sword moves of his predecessors. Advanced to the realm of supreme blade intent. If it were us, let alone letting me observe for a quarter of an hour, even if I watched for 10 days, half a month, or even several years, I might not gain much. This Luo Mu's understanding is really too terrible. Everyone was shocked and looked at Luo Mu with a deep awe in their eyes for the first time. On the high platform, the elder opened his mouth, wanted to say something to describe it, such as the previous natural talent and the world-class monster. But now these words seem to be unable to describe it accurately, can only raise his hand and applaud lightly. After practicing for so many years, I thought the palace master's talent was already the best in the world. Who would have thought that now there is a more terrible one? Spirit Sea Realm 3rd Layer. You will step into the realm of supreme truth. If you say this out, no one will believe it. Even in the imperial capital full of monsters, not counting the bloodline, the fastest to realize the true meaning of martial Tao is Profound Core Realm, and it is the 5th and 6th layers of Profound Core Realm. Your Highness, you are really lucky. The great elder looked at the 9th prince next to him. At this moment, the 9th prince has been trying to take a deep breath and try to calm himself down. Looking at Luo Mu, his eyes are full of passion. This guy, every time he appears, he can surprise people. Such a young true meaning martial artist, as long as he does not die halfway and grows up, his future achievements are unimaginable. It is really God's mercy that he can meet such a world-suppressing monster. If the other princes of the imperial capital knew about it, I am afraid they would rush to snatch him without stopping. Yes. The 9th prince had a smile from the bottom of his heart on his face. On the field, looking at the illusory giant sword, Li Jinni was completely stunned at this moment. Combined with the information he knew, there is no doubt that this is the true meaning of the legendary martial Tao. Luo Mu actually realized the blade intent. Li Jinni didn't believe it, but what happened now had to be believed. So that's it. Li Jinni came back to his senses. A self-deprecating smile appeared on his face. At this moment, he finally understood why Luo Mu could have defeated him directly in many opportunities, but still chose to fight. Why there were occasional mutterings during the battle. Because Luo Mu was observing the sword moves of his predecessors. He was feeling it. What he couldn't accept the most was that Luo Mu actually succeeded. You can read more daily new novels on fictionzone.net. Both sites shared the same login details, so you don't need to sign up again. Chapter 59. Rumble. Amid the discussion of the crowd, the illusory giant sword suddenly vibrated. Not only was it rising, it even became more solid. 1/10th blade intent. Someone laughed on the high platform. After the 100th martial Tao, it is the prototype of the true intention, but Luo Mu's blade intent did not stop, but instead rose to the 10th level again. Blade intent. It is not comparable to the martial Tao. It requires an unimaginable understanding of the Tao of the sword. Luo Mu can improve so much just by observing the swordsmanship of his predecessors. If he is given a complete true intention observation, how much more? On the field, a smile appeared on Luo Mu's face. Originally, his understanding of the true intention had reached the limit, and in the end, only 100 times critical strike was enough. Who would have thought that he would be so lucky that he could trigger a 1000-fold critical strike? And it was a 1000-fold critical strike when the light appeared. You can imagine how big the improvement is. Just after realizing blade intent, he surpassed the prototype and reached the 1st level. It's just that this kind of opportunity is hard to come by. Luo Mu knew it in his heart. You can't ask for it. Thinking of it, Luo Mu dispersed blade intent and took it back into his body. Then he looked at Li Jinni, who was not far away. Thank you. Luo Mu said sincerely, I'll treat you to dinner later. Hearing this, Li Jinni was stunned. He moved his mouth, but couldn't say anything. The emotions in his heart were even more complicated. If he was defeated by someone with similar strength, he would definitely not accept it. But he had no reason to accept the person in front of him. I lost. Finally, Wang Yin Wanyu turned into these 3 words. It sounded in the square. The winner, the Outer Palace disciple, Luo Mu. The referee elder also said immediately. Huh. The words fell. The sound was like a wave. All the Outer Palace disciples shouted excitedly. Brother Luo won. 363! Exclamation point. He is the first, and our Outer Palace is the first now. Some disciples even had tears in their eyes. Over the years, although they were not bullied by the Inner Palace disciples, they were at least treated with cold eyes and ridicule. Now they can finally vent their anger and hold their heads high. Not bad. The voice full of praise came down from the sky. Everyone realized that the palace master was there. Just now, the attention was on Luo Mu, so much so that they forgot. I didn't expect that one day my Chang'e Academy would have a peerless leader. The sea of clouds surged, and a look of satisfaction appeared on the huge face. The genius among geniuses is called a monster, and the monster among monsters, the world calls it a leader. Thank you for the praise, Palace Master. Facing the Palace Master, Luo Mu naturally had to be polite and slightly cupped his hands. You deserve this praise. After that, the sea of clouds dissipated, and the sky returned to clear. The first 100 before the ceremony, come forward. The figure of the elder appeared in the square. The next step is to distribute rewards. Other disciples must see the generous rewards, so that they can practice harder and improve their strength in the future. Luo Mu, the elder shouted. Luo Mu immediately took a step forward. He stood tall. His eyes were like knives. Although it was only the spirit sea realm, his temperament was already that of a strong man. Many people even had the future in their minds. You are very good. The elder raised his hand and patted Luo Mu's shoulder, his old face full of admiration. Luo Mu is not a bloodline person. An ordinary person, who can come to this point and have such a deep martial Tao foundation, can think back to how long his potential is. Far beyond the bloodline person. As long as he can grow up, he is destined to be in charge of the world and dance with the wind and clouds in the martial Tao practice world in the future. This is your reward. The elder took out 4 Tianwu orders, 1 original and 3 extra. In addition, there is a storage ring, which contains many cultivation resources. So many. Not to mention 1 person. It is enough for 10 Spirit Sea Realm martial artists to practice to the 9th layer perfection. It is a wealth that cannot be ignored. When you reach the Spirit Sea Realm 9th layer, you can go to the Divine Medicine Pavilion to receive 3 Xianxia pills. The elder said. Hearing this, all the disciples' breathing became hot. Xianxia pill. Similar to Spirit Sea Realm 9th layer sea pills are like mirror-breaking magic items. The further you practice, the lower the probability of breakthrough. Even geniuses, or even monsters, may fail many times. But the Xianxia pill can provide a success rate of nearly 40%. 40%. This is a very exaggerated probability. It's just that the refining of the Xianxia pill is very difficult. Both the required materials and the refining techniques. So the output of the Xianxia pill is very low and extremely precious. And currently among the 7 counties of Chang'an, only the Academy has the ability to refine this pill. But the Academy can only refine about 10 pills every year. Supply exceeds demand. And this year's output, part of it was used as a reward for the ceremony. Xianxia pill. Luo Mu's breathing became hot. His aptitude was naturally very clear. He had already started to struggle since the 3rd layer of the true acupoint realm, especially when he broke through to the Spirit Sea realm. It took 5 hours, and he almost failed. So it would be very difficult to break through to the mysterious pill in the future. Even with the critical hit, he might fail hundreds of times, or even more. But with the mysterious pill, there is no need to worry. The probability is increased by 40%, and with his own foundation, the probability is almost 50%. At that time, take 1. At least it's out of the question. Don't be so unlucky as to be in the deep sea. Breakthrough is almost a foregone conclusion. This trip to the ceremony is worth it. Luo Mu's mouth curled up. With these resources, plus the Xianxia pill, Xinzhou realm is already a sure thing. Soon it was Li Jianyi's turn. Although ranked 2nd, the reward was obviously much lower. There was only 1 Xianxia pill. However, Li Jianyi was completely stunned at this time, and he was absent-minded and didn't know what he was given. Not long after, the rewards were distributed, and the triennial ceremony was officially over. The envy of the surroundings was endless. It seems that my vision is not big enough and my imagination is lacking. I didn't expect the ceremony rewards to be so generous. Yes, there is even Xianxia pill. If you get one, the success rate of entering the profound core realm is very high. Don't even think about Xianxia pill. Only the top 3 monsters are qualified to get it. Work harder in the future and get into the top 100. The reward is pretty good. Yeah. Amid the discussion, everyone gradually became excited and began to look forward to the grand ceremony 3 years later. Of course, some disciples could no longer participate because they were too old or too advanced. The next day, Luo Mu had a rare night without practicing and had a good rest. The door of the courtyard was knocked. When he opened it, it turned out to be a deacon of the academy. Luo Mu, the elder asked you to go to Xianxia Palace. The deacon said. At the same time, a touch of envy appeared in his eyes. That was Xianxia. Okay. Luo Mu nodded. Xianxia Palace. As the name suggests, it is a place that respects talents. After each grand ceremony, the top-ranked outstanding people will be summoned to Xianxia Palace. Make arrangements for the next life. As a force founded by the dynasty, the future choices of the academy disciples are only 2, either to follow the literature or to follow the martial arts. Of course, most people choose the latter. Enter the military, gain military merit, and then embark on the road of conferred marquis, conferred king. So most people regard the academy ceremony as a turning point in their destiny. As long as you perform well, the future will definitely be bright. What surprised Luo Mu was that according to convention, it seems that the disciples will be summoned half a month after the ceremony. How come he was called just one day after the ceremony? He was originally planning to go to the Tianwu treasury to see the legendary Earth-rank martial arts. Xianxia Palace is important. Luo Mu still knew the priorities. After a little tidying up, he walked towards the direction of Xianxia Palace. Not long after, Luo Mu came to a magnificent palace. Xianxia Palace. 3 large gilded characters contain the flavor of martial arts rhyme. Walking into the palace, it was even more shocking. As far as the eye can see, the ground is like a mirror, reflecting the figure, and the beams and pillars are thick and tall, with carved beams and painted rafters, and the patterns are lifelike, like living things. Here they come. A calm voice sounded. Luo Mu looked forward immediately. I saw a middle-aged man in white standing in front of the throne, with his hands behind his back. He had an ordinary face, but his eyes were extremely deep. It was like the starry sky at night, vast and boundless. If you look at it for a long time, you may even feel like sinking. And the place where he was, the void was a little wrong, with a sense of distortion. There were rows of chairs on both sides below, and no one sat down for the time being. The elder was also there, but he was just standing quietly. Click. The middle-aged man in white snapped his fingers. Luo Mu felt a trance, and he appeared directly from the door of the hall to the near point. This is the palace master. The elder smiled and said on the side, "Meet the palace master." Luo Mu was shocked. This method is really incredible. I don't know what realm the palace master's true cultivation has reached. No need to be restrained. The palace master smiled slightly. Buzz at the same time, ripples appeared in the space. 2 figures appeared. One was wearing a python robe and had a handsome face, and the other was burly with a scar on his face. These 2, one is the 9th prince of the dynasty, and the other is the famous blood-brave Marquis Chang Tiansong of our Chang'e lineage. The palace master introduced. Before Luo Mu could respond, the 9th prince took the initiative to step forward. "Brother Luo, we have met before." The tone was a little familiar. There was no sense of estrangement at all. Luo Mu was startled, then nodded. "I didn't expect that the person I saw in the restaurant was His Royal Highness the 9th prince. This is fate." The 9th prince took Luo Mu's hand and sat down on a chair nearby. Luo Mu was a little uncomfortable. Although the 9th prince was very beautiful and looked like a woman without his Adam's apple, he was a man after all. It felt strange to be held by the hand like this. "Sorry." The 9th prince seemed to have noticed it. He coughed lightly and let go of his hand. There was no way. It was not easy to meet a peerless leader. Once he grew up, he would be the pillar of his future. It was impossible not to be excited. As for the emperor's mind, this method was not suitable for a leader like Luo Mu. After all, Luo Mu's future martial Dao achievements would definitely be far above his own, and it was not something he could control. So from beginning to end, he did not show the slightest bit of pride as a member of the sovereign clan. Very humble and approachable. Just wanted Luo Mu to feel his kindness. "Meet the blood-brave Marquis." Luo Mu bowed slightly to Cheng Tiansong. Cheng Qingman is the daughter of Cheng Tiansong. She has received many favors from him, so naturally she cannot forget the etiquette. "My daughter mentioned you many times before, and her words were very profound. I thought you were just a slightly outstanding demon, but I didn't expect that I still underestimated you by far." Cheng Tiansong said with a smile, "I really don't know how far you can go in the future, but you will definitely surpass me. Mr. Shueyong is too kind." Luo Mu knew that his performance had been deeply rooted in people's hearts, and even these bigwigs had to pay attention to it. Otherwise, if it was just the first place in an ordinary ceremony, he would not have been brought here just after the ceremony. And today, there is only one disciple of his. "I asked you to come here today to ask you about your future path and how you plan to go," the palace master said. "Military." Luo Mu thought about it and answered. "The so-called civil servants are not real civil servants, but just civil servants." Luo Mu doesn't like the hypocrisy in the temple. It's more suitable for the straightforward military warriors who fight and kill. Then go to the Shenwei army of Mr. Shueyong. The hundreds of tribes in southern Xinjiang have been restless recently, and it is a good time to establish military merits. The palace master nodded slightly. It seemed that he knew Luo Mu would choose military. "Now my Chang'e lineage is temporarily under the tutelage of the 9th prince. He still has several marquisites in his hands. If you perform well in the army, you may be quickly conferred Marquis," the palace master said. Conferred Marquis. Luo Mu's eyes narrowed slightly. Although most people choose military, it is because military merit is easy to get, and it is easier to conferred Marquis conferred King. But that is only in comparison. Just talking. It is very, very difficult to be conferred Marquis. It requires unimaginable military merit and relationships. It is not easy for ordinary people to be promoted to the position of general. It is enough to bring honor to the ancestors and be listed on the first page of the family tree. There have been outstanding figures in the history of the Luo family, but the highest they have been is only a lieutenant. And now there is a chance to be quickly conferred marquis. Yes, the war in the West is tight, and many princes died some time ago, so the position is vacant. The 9th prince nodded. I still have 3 left. I came to the 7 commanderies of Chang'e to find some young talents to inherit these 3 titles. With Brother Luo's potential, I believe he is qualified for the position. What are the specific conditions? Luo Mu asked. The title of marquis is not an ordinary title, so it is rare. Even if it is the 9th prince, it is impossible to give it to anyone he wants. At least there is a minimum standard. The minimum standard for conferred marquis is to reach the profound core realm in cultivation, and a first-class military merit is required. The 9th prince said. His eyes were like water, falling on Luo Mu's face. First-class military merit? Luo Mu raised his eyebrows slightly. The cultivation condition is not difficult, and with his existing resources, he can definitely reach it easily. Only this first-class military merit. It is a little difficult. But the palace master just said that the hundreds of tribes in the southern border are ready to move, and it is a good time to establish military merit, so it should not be particularly difficult. Thank you, Your Highness. Luo Mu smiled slightly. He was not shy or hesitant when doing things. He had practiced until now for these reasons, or if he wanted to reach the top of martial Dao, these were necessary. In this world, especially in the dynasty, status is very important. The higher the status, the more resources will be allocated, and the more intelligence authority will be. You can easily know many things that were originally out of reach, especially the princes. They are the ruling class. Zimu is polite. We will be a family from now on. Why should we talk about this? The 9th prince smiled. Luo Mu raised his eyebrows slightly. He even knew his handwriting. It seems that his background has been investigated clearly. In this case, I will have to trouble Shui Yongho in a while. The palace master looked at Cheng Tiansong. The academy finally produced a peerless leader, and he must be carefully cultivated. Don't worry. Cheng Tiansong nodded. In addition, there is one more thing. Luo Mu, you also need to be prepared. The palace master turned his eyes to Luo Mu again. Chapter 60. Palace Master, please speak. Luo Mu answered. In 3 months, the Mountain and Sea Secret Realm, one of the 9 secret realms of our dynasty, will be opened. At that time, the 7 major palaces and even many sects will send their young people to participate. The Palace Master said. Secret Realm? Luo Mu was stunned. It's not that he had never heard of it, but secret realms are very rare and can't be seen at ordinary times. Moreover, the existence of secret realms is strictly controlled by the dynasty. Well, the Palace Master continued, Mountain and Sea Secret Realm is only opened once every 100 years. You are lucky to have hit the time. Unlike other secret realms, Mountain and Sea Secret Realm is special. It only allows martial artists from profound core realm to enter, no matter how high or low. There are countless rare treasures in the secret realm, which is a place of opportunity. The most important thing is that the Mountain and Sea Secret Realm contains the spiritual objects needed to advance to the Earth Opening Realm. Earth Opening Realm. Luo Mu's eyes moved slightly. This is a realm higher than the mysterious pill. Earth Opening Realm, opening up the physical body and manifesting in the world, is a completely transcendent realm. It is incomparable to the previous realms, and therefore the spiritual objects required for cultivation in the Earth Opening Realm are very scarce in the world. The Academy can meet all the resources for your cultivation before the Earth Opening Realm. But from the Earth Opening Realm, most of it depends on you to fight and compete. Therefore, the Mountain and Sea Secret Realm is very important. The Academy currently has 30 places, and I will leave one for you. The Palace Master said a lot in one breath. It also made Luo Mu understand the importance of the Mountain and Sea Secret Realm. Although I don't understand the situation in the Earth Opening Realm, what physical body and visions are, the only thing I can be sure of is that I must not miss it. Thank you, Palace Master. Luo Mu stood up and bowed. No need for that. Our Chang'e family finally produced a world-class leader. We must cultivate him well, otherwise we will not be able to live up to the blessing bestowed by our ancestors. The Palace Master shook his head. Hearing this, Luo Mu's heart moved slightly. This is the real benefit of being the first in the ceremony, not the obvious rewards given yesterday. Of course, more importantly, he must perform well enough, otherwise how can there be so many benefits? Conferred marquee quota, secret realm quota, and others. These are things that many people can't get in their lifetime despite their efforts. But now 09 took the initiative to deliver them to him. Within easy reach. Okay, that's all for today. You continue to practice. I'll notify you when you go to the Shenwei army. The Palace Master said. Luo Mu nodded, and then seemed to remember something. Palace Master, my family? Don't worry, when you first showed your talent in Xuanyang City, the Academy sent people to protect your family. The palace master smiled. At the same time, a look of satisfaction flashed through his mind. At least he was a man of affection and righteousness, and he did not completely forget about the weak family. The establishment time of the academy, not to mention the establishment of the dynasty, but it is not far away. A set of protection measures for the geniuses of the academy has long been established. As long as a disciple with extremely high talent is found, he will be protected as soon as possible, including the family behind him, unless the family of the disciple is very strong and does not need protection from others. Thank you. Luo Mu exhaled lightly. Xuanyang City just showed its edge, and it attracted the obstruction of Kwangmo halfway. Not to mention now, with demon Daos and scrupulous means, it is inevitable to find his family and threaten him. By the way, just as Luo Mu turned around, the palace master said, Tianwu Treasure House, you can learn whatever you want. There is no limit. No need to care about the Tianwu order. The same applies to resources. If you have enough energy, I suggest you learn martial arts from other schools, so that you can have other trump cards when you are targeted in the future. If you don't understand anything about martial arts, you can ask me or the Great Elder. Hearing this, Luo Mu was stunned. Come to think of it, the palace master has taken the initiative to say that he will train him with all his strength, so there will be no restrictions on the Tianwu order, so naturally he can learn whatever he wants. He must always be excellent enough in the future. Otherwise, how can there be so many benefits that will be delivered to the door? The world is so realistic. Value equality. It seems that the palace master values Luo Mu very much. After Luo Mu left, Cheng Tiansong said with a smile, this treatment, even when he was in the academy before, he had never had it. Do you think he doesn't deserve it? The palace master glanced at him. Of course it's worth it. Such talent is unprecedented. Cheng Tiansong spread his hands. It's a pity that I don't practice swordsmanship, otherwise I can take him in. Forget it, with his comprehension, why does he need a teacher? He can rely on himself. The palace master shook his head and smiled. It was the first time he saw someone who could understand blade intent just by observing the martial Tao of his predecessors. Unbelievable. This is a true genius. A natural talent. Why does he need a teacher? Listening to the conversation between the two, a smile appeared on the face of the ninth prince. This trip to Chang'e was really worthwhile. Tianwu Treasure House. The most important place in the academy. After leaving Xianxia Palace, Luo Mu went directly here. Elder, my name is... Luo Mu hadn't finished speaking yet, but he was interrupted. I know you. No need to say more. Go in and choose what you should learn. The elder guarding the treasure house said in a gentle voice. Luo Mu smiled silently. It seems that yesterday's battle has completely improved his popularity in the academy. Not to say that everyone knows him, but it's almost the same. Of course, the Tianwu treasury must have been approved by the Great Elder or the Palace Master. The elder who guards the treasury will let him in. What a good seedling. After Luo Mu entered, the elder who guards the treasury looked at Luo Mu's back, nodded continuously, and his eyes were relieved. At the end of his life, it's really a happy thing to see such an excellent junior in the academy. Compared with the Outer Palace's martial arts building, the Tianwu treasury is naturally magnificent, very spacious. As soon as I walked in, I smelled the thick fragrance of books and ink. Refreshing. Looking around, rows of bookshelves stood in an orderly manner, with martial arts books neatly placed on them. Profound rank level. Luo Mu naturally didn't pay attention to it. If you want to learn now, you must at least be Earth rank. However, it seems that Earth rank can only be learned after breaking through to profound core realm, because Earth rank is too powerful, and the quality of true Qi is not enough to support it. Only the true Qi of profound core realm can do it. But if you can't practice it for the time being, you have to choose it first. When you step into Xiandan, you can start practicing directly. The cloud-chasing soul hammer technique, Earth rank low grade. The Mad Dragon Fierce Sun Slash, Earth rank low grade, is an axe technique created by the Mad Dragon Venerable. It is extremely powerful. After mastering it, it is like a mad dragon going out to sea and a scorching sun falling into the world. The Heavenly Capital Demon Suppression Palm, Earth rank low grade, is a palm technique that came from an ancient land. Because it is damaged, it is only low grade powerful. Facing a Demon Dao martial artist, it can exert EX power comparable to middle grade. Luo Mu looked at them one by one, nodding slightly. It is worthy of being the Academy's arsenal. There are nearly 100 Earth rank low grade martial arts. If any of them were circulated, it would be enough to set off a bloody storm. But now it is lying here, allowing him to pick it up and read it at will. Since I want to learn, I naturally have to learn the best. Luo Mu walked to the deeper bookshelf. I remember the palace master just said that in 3 months, the mountain and sea secret realm, the 7 major palaces of the Great Zhou Divine Sovereign dynasty, and the prodigy of many sects will go there. That is a real gathering of heroes. It is not comparable to the grand ceremony of my own palace. So I must hurry up to improve my martial Dao foundation. If I don't practice the most apex level martial arts, I'm afraid it will be difficult to seize the so-called spiritual objects. After all, the best among those monsters will not practice ordinary earth rank martial arts. Soon, Luo Mu walked to the end. There is only one bookshelf here, and the martial arts on the bookshelf are of earth rank high grade. At this first grade level, the number of martial arts has obviously decreased sharply. Only 11 books are left. Is there no heavenly rank martial arts? Luo Mu thought subconsciously, but the moment the thought came up, it was directly extinguished. Earth rank can only be practiced in the profound core realm. Then heavenly rank can be imagined. So there is no point in putting it here. Besides, heavenly rank martial arts are so precious that even for a force like Chang'e Academy, it is the treasure of the palace. How could it be placed randomly? It is estimated that they are all passed down from one lineage to another. Let go of distracting thoughts. Luo Mu set his eyes on the bookshelf. Before coming here, he had already thought about what he wanted to learn. Earth rank swordsmanship, body skills, and body refining skills. Thinking about it, Luo Mu began to read. There are not many books on the bookshelf. It means that there are not many choices. There is probably only one book for each school. Origin Returning Sword Technique, Earth Rank High Grade, created by the Sword Saint of Heaven 1,000 years ago. The sword contains the Garden of Origin Returning, Lone Star Chasing the Moon Palm, Earth Rank High Grade. Evergreen Technique, Earth Rank High Grade, the Sect Protecting Technique of the Destroyed Evergreen Valley. The complete chapter is Heavenly Rank, but the second part is missing, but the first part alone has extraordinary effects. This body refining technique takes a different approach, not taking the defensive route, but focusing on the building. Just practicing to basic accomplishment, the wound can be healed instantly, great accomplishment can regenerate broken limbs, and once it is perfected, even if the head and heart are instantly shattered, they can be repaired immediately. Seeing the content of this technique, Luo Mu's pupil shrank slightly. Isn't this exaggerated? He could barely believe that wounds healed and broken limbs regenerated, but the head and heart were broken, and they couldn't be repaired? Luo Mu's first reaction was to question it. But thinking that the world is so big, there are all kinds of things, why can't it be possible? Besides, the complete version of this technique is Heavenly Rank. Heavenly Rank seizes the fortune of heaven and earth. How mysterious. Since the Academy put this technique here, it should not be a lie. If it really has such an effect, it is equivalent to having an extra life. Luo Mu was moved. Although his defense is strong enough, his recovery is really average. If he is injured, he can't recover in a short time. Maybe. Luo Mu thought of a saying. That is, the more powerful the technique, the scarcer the resources required, and it may even be extinct in the world. Maybe this evergreen technique is like this. Never mind, just choose it first. Luo Mu stuffed evergreen technique into his arms and continued to look at other books. Scorching Sun Golden Body Technique, Earth Rank High Grade, can absorb the essence of the sun into the body, flesh refining the body, and then strengthen it with the power of gold. On the day of perfection, it will forge a primordial origin golden body of 8 feet, which is invulnerable to swords and guns, and is difficult to be invaded by all kinds of methods. This is good. Luo Mu's eyes lit up slightly. He is now learning a new technique, and it is best to learn a continuation of the current technique. For example, if he has practiced the Xianxia Qigong, it will not be particularly difficult to practice the Liangjin Shengong later. Because he has a certain foundation, he will not have to practice from scratch. Otherwise, the previous techniques will be practiced in vain and a bit wasteful. Luo Mu also stuffed the Liangjin Shengong into his arms. The Floating Light and Shadow Step, Earth Rank High Grade Body Technique, it's yours. Luo Mu 390 now. If he sees something he likes, he will just choose it. He reads through the books one by one. It will be over soon, which makes Luo Mu feel a little anxious. Is there no sword technique? If he relies on his own deduction, it will be very difficult. After all, it is at the Earth Rank level. Fortunately, Luo Mu saw the next book. The Holy Spirit Killing Sword Technique, Earth Rank High Grade, 300 years ago. The terrifying sword technique that came out from the first secret realm of the Great Zhou Divine Sovereign is a complete sword of killing, cast with flesh and blood, and nourished with death. When the sword comes out, the world is like hell. Good sword technique. Luo Mu's eyes suddenly showed a bright light. From Body Tempering Realm, he practiced Jueshan Sword Technique and Wuxing Sword Sutra, which are both killing swords, so he is destined to walk the path of killing in the future. And this sword technique is very suitable for him. Although I don't know the specific training method, it should be almost right. Perhaps Wuxing Sword Sutra can be used as a foundation. Walk less. That's all. Luo Mu turned and left, and then took another boxing book. I remember the palace master said that if you have enough energy, you can learn more martial arts from other schools, so as not to be targeted in the future. This level of people's reminders should be kept in mind. The boxing method is also Earth Rank High Grade. It is called Nirvana God Fist. Elder, that's all. Arriving at the door of the treasure house, Luo Mu put the secret book in his arms on the table. These secret books are covered with restrictions. You can only read the cover introduction and turn down 2 pages. More is not allowed. So the elder needs to lift the ban. Seeing 5 secret books, all of which were Earth rank high grade, the corner of the elder's eye twitched. It's not that he was reluctant, but Earth rank high grade martial arts, not profound rank, how could it be so easy to practice? Even if it was a demon, some might not be able to practice to perfection in their entire lives, and practice 5 disciplines at the same time. But the elder didn't say much. First, the palace master had told him not to talk nonsense, and Luo Mu could learn whatever he wanted. Second, he had also seen Luo Mu's terribleness at the ceremony, which was completely the best in the world, and practicing 5 disciplines at the same time was not something he couldn't understand. Then, the ban was lifted. Thank you, elder. Luo Mu put all the secret books into the storage ring and said with a smile, practice well. The future of the academy depends on you. The elder who guards the warehouse stroked his white beard. In addition, the Divine Medicine Pavilion is over there. You can go there to get the corresponding practice resources. These techniques are not so easy to practice. The resources required are quite rare, especially the evergreen technique. I don't know if there are corresponding resources. Hearing this, Luo Mu silently said in his heart, sure enough. The description of evergreen technique is so amazing that the difficulty of practice is definitely exaggerated. It may not even have the corresponding resources to practice. Got it. Luo Mu didn't think much and walked towards the direction of the Divine Medicine Pavilion. Chapter 61. Divine Medicine Pavilion. A rather grand pavilion. When Luo Mu just walked in, a disciple's eyes brightened and he hurried forward. Brother Luo. Although Luo Mu defeated Li Jiani and made the inner palace suffer humiliation, that battle was not a narrow victory, but a real crushing victory. Especially at the end, he realized the supreme blade intent on the spot. All the disciples were convinced. Just now, the elder guarding the warehouse sent me a message, and the things have been prepared for you. The disciple turned back to the counter and took out 3 jade boxes. In the first jade box, there are 30 copies of the resources needed for the Fiery Sun Golden Body Technique. In the second jade box, there are 20 copies of the resources needed for the Floating Light Step. As for the third one, it is the Evergreen Technique. But the things needed for this technique are too scarce, and I only have 2 copies. Hearing this, Luo Mu nodded. It was in line with his expectations, and even exceeded them a little. I thought the resources of the Evergreen Technique were extinct in the world, but I didn't expect that there were still 2 copies in the academy. Just 2 copies. It is definitely impossible to practice to perfection. Even if I have a critical hit, I guess I can only reach basic accomplishment, unless the critical hit multiplier is very, very high. Is there any substitute for the resources of the Evergreen Technique, or a second-level substitute? Luo Mu thought for a moment and said, with more high critical hits, the final effect of the second level should not be underestimated. There is no substitute, but the second level can indeed be found. However, for this level of skills, using the second-level resources may not be effective. It may be a waste to use hundreds of copies. The disciple replied. It doesn't matter, just prepare it for me. Luo Mu smiled. He is different from ordinary people. If it does not work when used, but there is a critical hit in the subsequent screen, then it is effective in reality. And if you are lucky and have an effect when using it, then the number of critical hits is equivalent to the number of copies that are effective. Okay. The disciple said nothing more, walked into the Divine Medicine Pavilion, and after about a moment, he came out. Brother Luo, I searched and found only 100 second-level substitute resources in total. The disciple said, thank you. Luo Mu's eyes showed satisfaction. I didn't expect that there would be so many second-level substitute resources. Brother Luo, you are too polite. The disciple replied with a smile. Brother Luo at this moment was completely different from the one in the square the day before, and seemed a little approachable. Back to his residence, Luo Mu began to practice in seclusion. He now needed to hurry up to improve his cultivation to the peak of Spirit Sea Realm, and then set foot in Profound Core Realm. For him, Profound Core Realm is already a very important realm. The skills taken out of the treasure house can only be practiced in Profound Core Realm. One of the minimum standards of conferred marquee is Profound Core Realm. 3 months later, the condition for entering Mountain and Sea Secret Realm is also Profound Core Realm. Let's get started. Luo Mu did not use the resources he got this time immediately. Instead, he used the Tianshui Yuanlian before. Even if we are rich now, we can't waste it. With the return of the major families, the news about what happened at the academy ceremony gradually spread. For a time, it shocked all the counties. I didn't expect that even Li Jiani was defeated. He is the most outstanding young generation of the Anshan kingly family. Yes, who would have thought that there would be such a monster among the disciples of the Outer Palace? Spirit Sea Realm realized blade intent and realized it on the spot in front of everyone. Such talent is really unprecedented and unheard of. Li Jinyi's defeat is not unfair. It seems that our Chang'e's 7 counties will have a top strongman in the future. When the speech came to this, many people became excited. The location of the Chang'e's 7 counties is awkward. To the east is the open sea, where sea monsters live, and to the south is the southern border, bordering the witch and poison tribes. So, every year, wars are frequent in the border areas. Maybe one day, these foreign tribes will break in and kill at will. This kind of thing has happened before. And if there is one more top-level expert in charge, the safety will be greatly guaranteed. By the way, what family is Luo Mu from? It seems to be a small family in the Lihe area of Zhaoyang County. Then you have to visit him in advance. With Luo Mu's potential, there is a high probability that he will be a conferred marquis in the future. It's too late for you to go now. The Luo family is probably crowded with people now. Zhaoyang County, Lihe Town, a town that was not big or small before, but now it is crowded with people. My goodness, has our Lihe Town found a natural treasure? Why are there so many people all of a sudden? And they all seem to be from extraordinary families. Oh my god, that's the Wuyang Marquis Yuan family. Not only that, there's also the Martial Marquis Yun family. Wait, that's the Anshan King, Li family. On the street, the original residents of the town exclaimed one by one. Their eyes widened. Unbelievable. Where are they going? Someone asked. It looks like the direction of the Luo family. Looking at the entire Zhaoyang County, the Luo family is naturally nothing, but in Piaohe Town, the Luo family's strength is also quite good, with 5 true acupoint realm martial artists in the family. There were also Spirit Sea realm in the past. Even the highest position in the army was a lieutenant. It's a pity that the younger generation is incompetent. No more outstanding people. Damn. I found out that these royal families did go to the Luo family. It's really the Luo family. What's wrong? What did the Luo family do that made the family come to ask for punishment? What's wrong with your brain? You come here to ask for punishment, and you have so many valuable gifts in your hands? I heard that the first place in this academy ceremony is Luo Mu, the son of the Luo family. What? After the voice fell, the sound of gasps came one after another. Everyone was stunned. They all knew these words, but when they were put into a sentence, they were extremely unfamiliar. The first place in the ceremony was the son of the Luo family, Luo Mu? Huh? Are you kidding me? The two seem to have nothing in common. Those who can enter the academy are either geniuses or evildoers, especially since most of the people in the inner palace are descendants of royal families. You can imagine how difficult it is to defeat these people. How can common people do it? They don't want to believe it, but the large number of gift-giving teams are real and extremely real. Could it be that the soil and water in our Piaohe town have improved, and it can breed such people? Someone swallowed his saliva. The Luo family. An ordinary servant was yawning and opened the door of the mansion with sleepy eyes. As a result, the scene at the door made him stunned. He even rubbed his eyes in disbelief. Thought he had seen it wrong. There were people everywhere, carriages and horses, in gorgeous clothes. They didn't look like people from Lihe Town. Fengdu County, Anshan King Li's family is here to visit. Please let me know. Hunshan County, Wuyang Marquis Yuan family, come to visit. Lixia County, Zhong Martial Marquis. The voices of people introducing themselves continued. The servants were stunned. What titles are these? Anshan King? Wuyang Marquis? There are many marquises, even great families. These are all great families in the 7 counties of Chang'e that can shake the earth 3 times with a stomp of their feet. Master! Something big has happened. The servant turned around and ran towards the mansion. At the same time, outside Lihe Town, in the dark woods, there were flashes of swords and sabers. It lasted for a long time before stopping. Then several masked figures in gray clothes came out. The word Chang'e was written on the cuffs. This group of demon Dao thieves comes frequently. This is the nth wave. The leader said. It's probably the 6th wave. I don't know if they have passed us and infiltrated Piaohe Town. It shouldn't be, but it doesn't matter if they have. We still have our people inside. The elder repeatedly reminded us that there must be no mistakes. The Luo family, even the slaves, must not be injured at all. It's really a case of one person's success bringing prosperity to the whole family. The subordinate sighed. Do your own thing well? The leader glanced at him and led his men back into the darkness. Time passed quickly. A month passed in the blink of an eye. During this month, the topic about Luo Mu not only did not decrease, but increased, and it was a bit rampant. In the main person, but he was still immersed in retreat and cultivation. At a certain moment, Luo Mu opened his eyes. He exhaled a long breath and a smile appeared on his face. Finally, the peak of Spirit Sea Realm 9th layer. Next, after adjusting your state, you can go to Divine Medicine Pavilion, receive Tian Xindan, and start preparing to impact the Shindan realm. Jumping off the bed, Luo Mu stretched his body. The sound of bones crackling like frying beans filled the room. Knock, knock, knock. Suddenly, there was a knock on the courtyard door. Luo Mu walked out and opened the courtyard door. Outside the door was the deacon from last time. Luo Mu, the elder asked you to go to Xianxia Palace. The deacon said, okay. Luo Mu nodded. It seems that the time is almost up, and we have to go to the border. Thinking of this, Luo Mu's eyes were as bright as torches. Military career. This is the beginning of a new stage in life. And in this stage, his goal is very clear. He must get a first-class military merit. Only in this way can he reach the standard of conferred marquis. Not long after, Luo Mu came to Xianxia. Understand from before, there was only the great elder in the hall. The palace master is practicing in Taoist, and I will be responsible for all matters in the future. The great elder saw Luo Mu and said with a smile, by the way, His Highness has returned to the imperial capital. Seeing that you were practicing, he did not disturb you and asked me to bring you a message. What is it? Luo Mu raised his eyebrows. He is waiting for you in the imperial capital. The great elder said, in addition, as soon as the military merit arrives, the imperial edict of conferred marquis will be delivered to you soon and announced to the world at the same time. Understood. Luo Mu's eyes moved slightly. Mountain and Sea Secret Realm is in the imperial capital, so he has to go to the imperial capital again later. I am also looking forward to the marquis who is less than 18 years old. The elder stroked his white beard. Disciple will work hard. Luo Mu bowed. Well, I called you here today mainly to inform you that it is time to go to the border. Here is the map and the token. When you arrive at your destination, someone will pick you up. The position assigned to you by the blood-brave marquis is the captain of the left camp of the 1st Army of the Divine Power Army, commanding 5,000 soldiers. The elder said, in fact, you can also be directly appointed as a general, but the strength of the army is the main thing. There is no benefit in over-appointment. It is better to start with the captain. Disciple understands. Luo Mu's eyes were like torches. Captain, or the captain of the left camp of the 1st Army. This is not the treatment that the first place in the ordinary ceremony can get. Generally speaking, the first place in the ceremony enters the military and does start as a lieutenant, but it is impossible to be a lieutenant of the 1st Army. And it is a side army. The 1st Army is the elite among the elite. How can a flower that walks out of a greenhouse be qualified to serve? It seems that his performance in the ceremony has been recognized by Cheng Tiansong, who thinks he is qualified. Spirit Sea Realm 9th layer. The progress of cultivation is good, even faster than we expected. It seems that you have not slacked off in the past month. The elder looked at Luo Mu's cultivation. A satisfied look appeared on his face. A shock flashed in his eyes. It only took 1 month from the 3rd layer to the 9th layer, which is actually very exaggerated. Even Li Jiani and other monsters are far behind. Don't forget to go to the Divine Medicine Pavilion to get the Tianqian pill and break through to the profound core realm, which will be of great benefit to your position. The elder meant something. The 1st Army is full of strong men, and many of the lieutenants have the cultivation of profound core realm. If you go there with the cultivation of Spirit Sea Realm 9th layer, it will still be very difficult. I am planning to do that. Luo Mu smiled. Well, the Academy has arranged a Taoist protector for you. His real body is in the outer world, and he will not appear easily, nor will he spy on your daily practice. When someone with a cultivation level far higher than yours attacks you, he will drop a projection to protect you, said the elder. Thank you, Palace Master. Luo Mu bowed. A rare look of relief flashed across his face. Among his peers, he may be invincible, but if some shameless older generation attacks, he can't stop it. Now with a Taoist protector, it can be regarded as a certain guarantee. Practice is up to you. Any martial Tao Supreme who can grow to the top has gone through the trials of life and death, so the Academy cannot always protect your absolute safety. You need to face many dangers, Zhao Hao, yourself? The elder said earnestly. Disciple understands. Luo Mu nodded. There is great terror between life and death, but also great benefits. Get through. The sky is wide and the sea is vast, and the flowers in the greenhouse will never become towering trees. Even if you are meticulously cared for to a very strong realm, it will only be a piece of thin paper, which will break at the slightest touch, and it is not very meaningful. The elder's implication. This Taoist will only take action in that special situation. In other situations, he can only rely on himself. If he dies, it can only be blamed on his own weakness. By the way, there is something that the student wants to ask. As if thinking of something, Luo Mu asked, what's the matter? Regarding the evergreen technique, are the contents and the actual effects completely consistent? Luo Mu was quite attracted by the evergreen technique, but he didn't expect that after practicing it with great effort, the actual effect would be very different. That's no problem. The 4th master of this academy has practiced it. At that time, with the evergreen technique, he was called Heavenly Venerable, the elder replied. I understand. Luo Mu felt relieved and said, Disciple, I'll leave. Well, looking at Luo Mu's departing back, the elder stroked his white beard. He was naturally clear about what martial arts Luo Mu had chosen in the arsenal. The difficulty of practicing evergreen technique was very high. It was not that the content was obscure and could not be comprehended, but the resources. The required resources were too scarce. Only one or two. Let alone the first glance, it was difficult to get started. But with a little practice, the body's recovery ability can still be increased a lot. And everyone's physique is different. What is a genius? A genius uses the least resources to achieve the greatest progress. Others may not be able to practice with 10 copies, but a genius only needs 1 copy. Luo Mu is a world leader. Although there are only 2 resources, maybe he can get started directly. So he didn't say anything to dissuade him today. Chapter 62. It's a pity that there is no sequel to Evergreen Technique, otherwise the 4th Palace Master would not have died. The elder sighed. It is said that the complete Evergreen Technique can produce a vision called Eternal Evergreen Realm. Being in the vision, the body is enough to be truly undying and indestructible. Quickly went to Divine Medicine Pavilion and received 3 Xianxia pills. Luo Mu returned to his residence and began to adjust his state to prepare for the breakthrough of Profound Core Realm. Profound Core Realm. Spirit Sea sublimated. True Qi turned into liquid, and Xiandan was born. The power contained in Xiandan is far superior to True Qi. It is called the Vast True Essence. Only the power of True Essence can support the consumption of Earth-rank martial arts. About half an hour later, Luo Mu exhaled lightly, and his state was almost adjusted. It's time to start the breakthrough. Then he took out a medicine bottle, poured it out carefully. But seeing this pill is azure blue, shining with dazzling precious light, and an extremely rich medicinal fragrance spreads. Even the closed room cannot be trapped, and it spreads outside the house. This is Xianxia pill. Precious 4th grade treasure pill. It can increase the success rate of breakthrough by nearly 40%. Gurgle. Without much hesitation, Luo Mu swallowed it directly into his stomach. At the same time, the Spirit Sea in his body began to surge. A vortex appeared in the center, which was getting bigger and bigger. It seemed to want to breathe something. Luo Mu did not dare to be distracted and controlled it with all his strength. Soon, in the vortex, the light was flowing, and the prototype of a Dao pill gradually appeared. This is Xiandan, but it is just a prototype, and it needs to be condensed a few more steps. And as long as there is a problem in one step, all the previous efforts will be wasted. After an hour, the originally stable prototype of the pill suddenly became agitated, as if it was about to collapse. Luo Mu knew that this was the limit. It must borrow external force. The Xianxia pill that had been prepared long ago suddenly turned into a magnificent and strange medicinal power, pouring into the pill, making it stable again. Luo Mu breathed a sigh of relief. It is best not to fail in the breakthrough, otherwise it will be difficult to break through again in a short period of time. The next day, the rosy clouds were shining. Luo Mu still sat cross-legged, without any change in his movements. His eyes were closed. His consciousness sank into his dantian. At this time, the huge vortex on the Spirit Sea had disappeared. Only a crystal-like Xiandan was left floating. There was a powerful force surging in the Xiandan, as if every strand was heavy. Success. Although it took a long time, nearly 10 hours, the result was good. 477 Ha. Luo Mu opened his eyes. The whole person seemed to wake up, and the terrifying aura spread immediately. Cracks began to appear on the walls around him, as if they were about to collapse. Fortunately, Luo Mu quickly took it back. Profound Core Realm. Luo Mu stood up, a smile on his face. Last night was full of surprises and dangers, with unstable states appearing many times. Fortunately, the Xianxia pill was powerful enough to stabilize it every time. It is indeed the extremely precious 4th grade treasure pill. With my qualifications alone, it is almost impossible to succeed without the help of the Xianxia pill. Luo Mu's eyes moved slightly. He thought to himself, I wonder if there is anything in the mountain and sea secret realm that can improve qualifications. If there is, it must not be missed. OJ, you use the Xianxia pill to break through, trigger a critical hit, and get 30 times the reward. 30 breakthrough scenes suddenly appeared in his mind. There were failures and successes, but most of them succeeded. After all, with the help of the Xianxia pill, the probability of failure is not particularly high. Then Luo Mu raised his right hand, and a drop of gray liquid appeared in his palm. This is the vast true essence transformed after the true Qi liquid. Contains terrifying power. If this drop falls on the ground within a radius of dozens of meters will collapse. The gap between the great realms is really like a cloud of mud. The essential gap of the origin, the Spirit Sea realm martial artist will never be the opponent of the Profound Core realm, unless he has the true meaning of martial Dao. That may be able to bridge the gap. Next, we have to rush to the border. Now that he has the cultivation of the profound core realm, he is enough to serve as a lieutenant. At least on the surface, there is no problem. If someone is dissatisfied, the knife in his hand will make him surrender. After packing up a little, Luo Mu took all his things and left the yard. He has lived in this place for almost 2 years. This time, he will not come back in a short time. To be honest, I am still a little reluctant. Grand Elder, Luo Mu is gone. Xianxia Palace, the Grand Elder quickly got the news. Leaving? The Elder looked outside the hall, stroked his white beard, and muttered to himself, hurry up and grow up. The world of great struggle is not far away. Only those who are strong enough can be qualified to become players, rather than chess pieces under turbulence. The destination on the map is a small town near the border. At his current speed, he can get there in 2 days at most. I didn't expect the route to be quite close to the family. Luo Mu looked at the map and raised his eyebrows slightly. Calculated. It has been 2 years since I went home. Then let's go back and stay for a night. Luo Mu put away the map and smiled. With his current achievements, he is qualified to go back. The current head of the Luo family is not his father, but his uncle. As for his parents, they died a long time ago because of a sudden plague. So his memory of his parents is very rare. Although his parents are gone, his uncle still treats him like his own son. He was carefully cultivated since childhood and spent a lot of money and favors to send him to the academy. In the past 2 years, he has not returned home. On the one hand, he is fully immersed in cultivation, and on the other hand, he is a little embarrassed to go back. After all, he has spent so many resources but has not made much progress. But now, it can be regarded as a glorious return to his hometown. It will not bring shame to his uncle or the Luo family. The Luo family is in Lihe Town, Zhaoyang County, which is halfway along the route. So around dusk, Luo Mu rushed to Piaoa Town. The sun sets. The red clouds dot the sky, which is extremely beautiful. What surprised Luo Mu was that Lihe Town today is so lively. It is obviously dusk, but the flow of people on the street is like daytime. It is even a little crowded. Old Liang, give me a cup of sure tea. Luo Mu saw the familiar stall and walked over and said, okay. Old Liang's back was slightly hunched. His hair was gray. He was already in his 60s. He subconsciously poured a cup of sure tea when he heard the voice. But when he looked up, he was startled. He even rubbed his eyes. After finally finding out it was true, he started fighting with both hands. Luo boy, you're back. It's just coming back. What's so exciting about it? Luo Mu took the sure tea, drank it all in one gulp, and immediately sighed with relief. Sure tea was the herbal tea he had been drinking since he was a child. Every summer, he relied on this tea to relieve the heat. I missed it a lot when I was in the academy. Now I finally got to drink it. How can I not be excited? The news that you won the first place in the academy ceremony has spread throughout Lihe Town. A lot of big shots came here some time ago. They are all the royal families in the 7 counties of Chengel who can shake the world with a stomp of their feet. One after another, they took the initiative to visit you. Your Luo family is so glorious now, Old Liang said. So that's it. Luo Mu suddenly realized. No wonder there are so many people in Lihe Town at this time. It seems that winning the first place in the academy ceremony has also boosted the economy of Piaoa Town. Many people come here because of his reputation. In this regard, Luo Mu was not very surprised. This is understandable. First in the academy. The weight of it can be imagined. Besides, he is not the first in the ordinary ceremony. Otherwise, even the royal family would not come here on their own initiative. Keep the money. Luo Mu took out a copper coin and threw it to Lao Liangtu. No, I'll treat you. Lao Liangtu subconsciously caught it, but said hurriedly, paying for tea is natural. Luo Mu had already walked away, and Zhou Yinyuta came. Hee. Hearing this, Lao Liangtu looked at the copper coin in his hand. A smile appeared on his old face, and then he took out an empty purse and put it in carefully. After all, this was the tea money given by Luo Mu. A big man destined to be conferred marquis in the future. Maybe it can be used as an heirloom. Compared with more than half a month ago, the Luo family's door is naturally much emptier now. Those who should come have come. In today's Piaoa Town, the Luo family's status is already second. Even if there is a small family that is stronger than the Luo family, they still respect the Luo family as the leader and dare not overstep their boundaries. They even come to the Luo family's head Luo Haishan to reminisce about the past, calling him Brother Luo. They are so close. Arriving at the Luo family's door, Luo Mu looked at the familiar mansion and couldn't help but recall the past. No guests today, please come again tomorrow. A servant at the door saw someone coming and said immediately. Because it was dark, I couldn't see clearly for a while, but I spoke subconsciously. Bang! Almost at the moment when the voice fell, another servant next to him gave him a heavy head slap. Look at your dog eyes. The servant scolded, and then hurried forward, his face excited. Young master, you are back? Yeah. Luo Mu smiled and nodded. What? Young master? The servant who spoke first was stunned, and then his face turned pale with fear. Where did his eyes go? He didn't even recognize the young master. Please forgive me, young master. The servant knelt down hurriedly. It's a small matter. It's normal that I can't see clearly in the dark. Luo Mu patted his shoulder and walked into the mansion. Thank you, young master. Thank you, young master. The servant was as if he had been pardoned, with a face full of relief and emotion. He quickly got up and ran inside with another servant. At the same time, he shouted, "The young master is back. The young master is back." In the Luo family, there is only one young master, that is Luo Mu. As for the other rooms, they don't count. Soon, the Luo family mansion, which was originally resting, was suddenly lit up. All the clan members came out of the room. They ran to the front hall with excitement. Muer. As soon as he arrived at the front hall, Luo Mu heard an excited voice. Turning sideways, he saw a middle-aged man with gray arms striding over. It was the head of the Luo family, Luo Haishan, a martial artist of the 8th layer of the real realm. In the past, it could bring pressure to Luo Mu, but now it is no different from an ordinary person. Luo Mu even deliberately restrained his breath. Otherwise, the cultivation of the profound core realm, even if it was revealed a little, would be enough to shock and even kill all the clan members present. Uncle. Luo Mu also smiled. Bang. As soon as he approached, Luo Haishan punched Luo Mu in the chest, not light or heavy. Good boy. No wonder you can get the first place in the academy. I can't even shake the division with my physique. Ha ha ha. Luo Haishan shook his aching arm and laughed. You still want to shake Muer? You are dreaming. Do you know what it means to be the first in the academy? 3 elders came over. They are the most senior people in the Luo family. Hee hee, the first in the academy, that's my nephew. Luo Haishan didn't mind at all. His eyes were full of relief. At the same time, he was also glad that he didn't hesitate and spend a lot of money to send Luo Mu to the academy. Otherwise, how could he be the first in the academy now? Second grandfather? Luo Mu bowed. Although his parents died early, he didn't receive much bad treatment in this family, and most people still treated him very well, including these 3 elders. Of course, there are other reasons. For example, talent. In the academy, his talent, by comparison, must be very average. But in the Luo family, it is almost the best. Not bad. You bring honor to our Luo family. The 3 elders were full of smiles. Even if their teeth had already fallen out, they didn't care about their manners at this moment. Young master. More and more people from the clan gathered around, looking at Luo Mu excitedly. Handsome face, tall and strong figure, with a black robe, showing a cold and stern style. Many female tribesmen's eyes became sparkling. After 2 years, why do I feel that the young master is getting more and more handsome and powerful? Go away, go away. What are you doing here? Don't you want to practice? Go back. An elder waved his hand to drive them away. Seeing this, Luo Haishan motioned Luo Mu to enter the front hall. What are you doing? The young master rarely comes back, and you don't even let me take a look at him. That's right. The tribesmen were dissatisfied, but they still didn't dare to disobey the elders. As the crowd dispersed, the surroundings also became quiet. In the hall, Luo Mu was arranged by Luo Haishan to sit in the main seat. He and the 3 elders sat on the chairs on both sides. Under Luo Haishan's questioning, Luo Mu avoided the important points and talked about his experience in the past 2 years, which made the 4 people nod continuously. It can be regarded as a certain understanding. Then what level of cultivation are you at now, Moore? Luo Haishan asked. I heard from others that you were already at the 3rd layer of Spirit Sea Realm during the ceremony. Xindan. Luo Mu spoke, and at the same time, he flipped his right hand, and Jin Yuan emerged. Even with Luo Mu's suppression, the terrifying aura still made the 4 people's faces change slightly, and they subconsciously wanted to hide away. Fortunately, Luo Mu immediately stopped. The terrifying feeling completely dissipated. Is this the profound core realm? The oppression of a little Zhen Yuan is stronger than the Spirit Sea Realm gave me before. Luo Haishan wiped the sweat from his forehead. Yes. The 3 elders nodded, and then their faces became excited again. In the cultivation world, if a family has a profound core realm strongman, it is considered a great family. I didn't expect that the Luo family finally became a great family. This is something that the ancestor of the Luo family never did in his life. Did you come back specially, or are you just passing by? Luo Haishan didn't think too much. I'm just passing by. Luo Mu replied, I'm going to the border Shenwei army to join the army. Shenwei army? The 4 of them were stunned. Such a familiar name. Isn't that the army that the rumored blood-brave Marquis is in charge of? In the 7 counties of Chang'e, the Shenwei army is very famous. It is the elite among the elite, and no other army can compare. In recent years, the 7 counties of Chang'e have been able to avoid harassment from the hundreds of tribes in the southern border, thanks to the Shenwei army guarding the border. Therefore, it is not so easy to enter the Shenwei army. Even a small soldier has to go through several tests before he can enter. Then what position do you hold in the Shenwei army? Luo Haishan asked again. First Army, left camp captain, commanding 5,000 soldiers. Luo Mu took out a token. On the front was written the Shenwei First Army, and on the back was Captain Luo Mu. After saying this, the four of them were stunned for a moment. Chapter 63. The First Army, the captain of the left camp, commanding 5,000 soldiers. This short sentence has unimaginable weight. The Divine Might Army itself is the elite among the elite, not to mention the First Army, and he is the captain of the left camp in the First Army. Although some of the Luo family's ancestors had served as captains, they were completely captains of miscellaneous troops. There is no comparison between the two. Ancestors' blessing. The three elders were very excited. Not only did their family produce a profound core realm strongman, but they were also the captain of the Divine Might Army, and this is not the point. Luo Mu is only 17 years old, and it is unimaginable how far he can go in the future. With his leadership, the Luo family will surely move towards an unprecedented glory. It is not impossible to even become a royal family. After chatting for a while, the three elders left with a smile. As for Luo Haishan, he took Luo Mu to the family ancestral hall, put on 2 incense sticks. Luo Haishan helped Luo Mu light it. Luo Mu took it. In front of him was the tablet of his parents. Back then, the plague was rampant in Liha town. If your parents hadn't given me the last antidote, I wouldn't be alive today. Luo Haishan sighed. Luo Mu didn't say anything, but bowed 3 times respectfully and then lit the incense. The incense curled up. So I swore that even if I became the head of the family, I would never marry and treat you as my own child. Now you have finally become a talent. Even if I go to the underworld in the future, I will have the face to see your parents. Luo Haishan patted Luo Mu's shoulder. A look of relief slowly emerged on his face, which had already begun to wrinkle. Thank you, uncle, for all these years. Luo Mu bowed. Although there was the kindness of his parents, it was mainly because his uncle valued his promise and really treated him as his own son. Why thank you? We are all family. Go to bed early tonight. You still have to travel tomorrow? Luo Haishan turned and left. He put his hands behind his back. He hummed a little song. Today may be the happiest day of his life. He retracted his gaze. Luo Mu picked up the woolen cloth next to him and wiped his parents' tablets carefully. He left. It was night. The stars and the moon were bright. Luo Mu sat in his room and took out the 5 Earth rank martial arts. Holy Spirit Killing Sword Technique, Scorching Sun Golden Body Skill, Evergreen Technique, Floating Light Step, and Destruction God Fist. The last boxing method will definitely be practiced when I have extra energy in the future. First practice the first 4 books to perfection. As always, read it first and then talk about it. Luo Mu picked up the Holy Spirit Killing Sword Art. Now that he was in the profound core realm, he could naturally start practicing. Turning to the first page, the god quickly immersed himself in it. About half an hour later, he pinched his brows and put down the secret book. Now that he has entered the blade intent level, his understanding of swordsmanship has naturally reached a higher level. So even if it is an Earth-rank high-grade swordsmanship, it is not as profound as expected. After reading it once, there are doubts, but not many. OJ, you concentrate on studying the Holy Spirit Killing Sword Art, triggering a critical hit and gaining 50 times the reward. After the words fell, a lot of information and insights entered his mind. It was as if he had really read it 50 times. It seems that I can practice it directly? Luo Mu's lips curled up slightly. After 50 times, all the contents of the sword tactics were memorized deeply, just like being engraved by a knife. And all the doubts were answered. In general, Holy Spirit Killing Sword Tactics can be said to be the transcendent level advanced version of No Life Sword Sutra. It is also condensed saber chi, but it is extremely pure killing saber chi. No Life Saber Chi is slowly forged by absorbing the death intention of the corpse when killing a living being. But killing saber chi is different. In addition to absorbing death intention, it also absorbs the negative emotions in the corpse. Killing. It needs motivation, greed, resentment, anger, etc. Based on the intention, and then various negative emotions, it is the real killing spirit. Kill, kill, kill. In addition, the Holy Spirit Killing Sword Art no longer uses the flesh as the place for the cultivation of saber chi. Instead, it is moved to the sword. The flesh is only the flesh after all. How can it compare to the real sword? Only the saber chi cultivated in the sword can have the domineering intention of the sword, sweeping across the 8 wastelands, sweeping across the 6 directions. However, this requires a very high level of swords. At least a top-grade spiritual sword is qualified to bear it. This spiritual sword should be okay. Luo Mu drew the sword out of the sheath and laid it horizontally on the table. This is the top-grade spiritual sword that Cheng Qingman commissioned the refining treasure house to forge for him. The quality is definitely up to standard. Speaking of Cheng Qingman, it seems that I haven't seen him for some time. I don't know how he is now. He shook his head slightly. Luo Mu dispersed his distracting thoughts and focused on the sword technique. He bit his finger, and blood as thick as mercury immediately oozed out. According to the blood sacrifice method in the sword technique, he began to carve patterns. Use the sword to nourish the power of killing. Sooner or later, it will become a human-killing weapon. It may even give birth to evil spirits. So the ordinary dripping of blood to recognize the master is useless. Once the evil spirit appears, it will betray directly. Only the blood sacrifice method can ensure that it will not betray. It consumes a lot. Luo Mu raised his eyebrows slightly. It actually consumed nearly 1/10 of his blood. Fortunately, it was finally carved. Buzz. In an instant, a much closer connection than before was born. Next, it is to push the lifeless saber chi into it and turn it into the foundation of the killing saber chi's death intention. Luo Mu's eyes moved slightly. He pressed his right hand on the blade. Visible to the naked eye, beneath the skin, the lifeless saber chi is like a long river, rolling into the body of strength, continuously merging, gradually turning into a hazy wisp of killing saber chi. This is the prototype. It can be weakened and differentiated into countless strands, or it can be merged into one strand. Everything depends on Luo Mu's mind. This means that the moves in the Lifeless Sword Sutra can still be used. Not bad. Luo Mu nodded. He thought that the death intention contained in the Lifeless Saber Chi might not be enough. After all, the quality of killing Saber Chi is too high. The death intention required is naturally huge. Who would have thought it was enough? However, it only barely reached the minimum standard, and more will be needed in the future. In addition, killing Saber Chi is only a prototype now. At best, it is similar to the original Lifeless Saber Chi. It must absorb all kinds of negative emotions. Only then can it be perfected, become a true killing saber chi. The transformation is complete, and the Holy Spirit killing saber art can be considered as an entry. Luo Mu raised his hand and raised his eyebrows slightly, because he found that the spiritual sword at this moment has undergone a great change, mainly in terms of temperament. The murderous aura is pervasive, and the coldness penetrates the bones. Just by looking at it, there is a tingling sensation, as if it contains something extremely terrifying. With the knife chi nurturing, the two will eventually be completely integrated, form a real killing weapon. Luo Mu sheathed the knife. The eyes moved slightly. This is the unique chi nurturing method of the Holy Spirit killing saber art. And if the chi is too strong, it will even directly devour the weapon. Then you have to find a higher quality knife embryo. I hope this spiritual sword can last longer. Luo Mu put the knife aside. Then he picked up the second secret book. Fiery Sun Golden Body Skill. When he learns new skills, he has a method, specifically looking for the continuation of existing skills, so that it will be easier to practice. After all, there is a foundation. Just like Holy Spirit Killing Sword Art and Lifeless Sword Sutra, once converted, it will be directly entered. Now the Scorching Sun Golden Body Art and Mysterious Sun Tyrant Body Art are also the same. The latter can be used as the basis of the former. Practice. Luo Mu continued to immerse himself in it. Even though he had reached the profound core realm, he dared not slack off at all. Practicing is like sailing against the current. If you don't move forward, you will retreat. And in another 2 months, the Mountain and Sea Secret Realm will be opened. With the current Martial Dao Foundation, there is no guarantee that you will get the spiritual object. You must become stronger. Dong. The morning bell of Lihe Town rang. The originally empty streets began to be crowded with people. And outside Lihe Town, 2 figures stood here. They were Luo Mu and Luo Haishan. Uncle, no need to send me off, go back? Luo Mu said with a smile. This uncle must send him off, and he can't refuse at all. In the words of the uncle, this separation may not be seen again for a long time. Those resources, you really don't want to take some with you? Luo Haishan said. No, leave them to the family, you and other clan members can use them. Luo Mu shook his head. Early in the morning, Luo Haishan took him to the family treasury. The things sent by many noble families were placed in the treasury and were not moved. In the words of Luo Haishan, this is all because of Luo Mu, so naturally Luo Mu has to distribute it. Luo Mu was a little moved by this. From the beginning to the end, in the uncle's heart, distance was ranked first. Let's go. Luo Mu turned around. He ran towards the distance. His speed was extremely fast, far faster than yesterday. Luo Haishan's eyes could not keep up at all, and he only felt that there was a flickering shadow. It was like a fleeting light. It is worthy of being an Earth-rank high-grade body technique. After leaving Lihe Town, Luo Mu stopped, with a satisfied look on his face. This floating light step can not only be used to deal with the enemy, but also the speed of traveling is very good. In just a short while, it was already 100 miles away. However, the consumption of true energy is a bit large. It seems that I have to improve my realm. The higher the realm of the profound core realm, the more true energy there is. Last night's practice, Luo Mu gained a lot and practiced 3 Earth-rank high-grade martial arts to the entry level. They are Holy Spirit Killing Knife Art, Scorching Sun Golden Body Skill, and Floating Light. As for Evergreen Technique, there is really no time. After all, there are only 6 hours in a night. The first 2 martial arts did not take much time, and there was a foundation, but the Floating Light and Shadow Step was a kind of body movement that I really had no experience with. 0. Seeking Flowers. So it took nearly 4 hours to get started. OJ, you used the Floating Light and Shadow Step to run nearly 100 miles, and you got some enlightenment, triggered a critical hit, and gained 70 times the reward. In his mind, the system's prompt sounded. Then a lot of insights emerged. The attainment of the Floating Light and Shadow Step directly increased dramatically. In one fell swoop, he entered the realm of the initial glimpse. Luo Mu was surprised. He just used this step to travel, but he forgot that this was also a practice. In this way, when I get to Qingmu City, I may be able to get basic accomplishment directly. Luo Mu raised his mouth. Qingmu City, a small city near the border. The surroundings are quite open, and there are not even a few weeds. The wind blows slowly, and the dust flies, which has a sense of desolation. There is no way around it. It is close to the border, and wars are frequent. No one wants to live in such an area. As time goes by, there are few people, and Aoki Castle has become a place for the army to stay. At this time, the sun sets in the west, and the afterglow is fading. In the center of the city, the flags fluttered in the wind. There were 5,000 people standing in the huge martial arts training ground. Everyone's aura was very good, and the weakest one had the cultivation of body tempering realm's 7th layer. There were even more people in the true acupoint realm. There were more than 10 people in Spirit Sea realm, especially the one standing in the front. It was a strong person from profound core realm. She looked to be in her 30s, sitting on the ground, wearing black armor, holding a handful of melon seeds in her hand, eating slowly. Sister, we have been waiting for almost 2 days. Why hasn't the new campus come yet? A Spirit Sea realm came forward. He was burly, with a heavy broadsword behind him. Every step he took, the ground would sink. That's it. Other Spirit Sea realm also said. Aoki Castle is such a boring place. Looking around, not to mention people, there is not even a single monster. It's so boring. In the Shenwei army, Spirit Sea realm is qualified to be a captain. A team of 5,000 people. But there are more than 10 Spirit Seas, which shows how strong they are. What nonsense are you talking about? Just wait. Yao Hongxiu spat out the melon shell in her mouth and said indifferently. In my opinion, the position of lieutenant should be given to the eldest sister. Obviously, the eldest sister has already broken through to the profound core realm, and her resume in the army is completely sufficient. She is the best candidate. But suddenly someone is parachuted in to take the position. It's so unfair. Spirit Sea with a sword on his back looked indignant. Yes. I specifically asked about it, and it seems that he is the first in this ceremony of the academy. What's the use of the first place? Those flowers in the greenhouse are just good-looking but useless. Have you forgotten the first place in the ceremony 3 years ago? When he went to the battlefield, he was in a hurry and was almost beaten to death by a barbarian who was weaker than him. He was seriously injured and was finally sent to the 5th Army to be a lieutenant. Our 1st Army is the elite among the elites, and we also fight the toughest battles. These embroidered pillows should not join in the fun. Others said. In their words, they were very disdainful of the disciples from the academy. It's just a show. They are even here to gild themselves, and they are not the same kind of people. Yao Hongxiu did not refute. This is also what she thought in her heart. For this post of lieutenant, she worked hard to practice and paid a lot. Finally, when the superiors were transferred and the position was vacant, she thought it would be her turn. But who would have thought that a notice would airdrop a new lieutenant? It's still a disciple of the academy, based on the performance of the academy's disciples over the years. If this isn't relying on connections, then what is it? Yao Hongxiu clenched her hands slightly. She was naturally dissatisfied in her heart. If you ask me, if that relative comes later, we should give him a warning, right? It would be best if he can scare him away. Anyway, I just want my elder sister to be our captain. I don't accept anyone else. Brothers, do you agree? The sword-carrying captain turned around and roared. Yes. The voice was like a wave, and everyone shouted in unison. Outside Qingmu City, the blue wind was fierce. A stream of light flashed and stopped in front of the city gate. It was Luo Mu. Ding! You use floating light step, rushing for hundreds of miles, and you have a feeling, triggering a critical hit, and gaining 100 times the reward. In his mind, the system's prompt sounded. Luo Mu smiled immediately. Yes, it's another 100 times. He has triggered 300 times critical hits along the way. In addition to other things, the attainment of floating light step has long been raised to the realm of basic accomplishment. Boom. A large number of feelings emerged again. It is infinitely close to great accomplishment. This is an Earth rank high-grade body movement, and it is extremely difficult to practice, but he has only spent half a day and is almost at great accomplishment. If I tell this to others, no one will believe it. Chapter 64. Recovering his mind, Luo Mu looked at the ruined ancient city in front of him. This is the contact point mentioned by the elder. Qingmu City. He sensed the strong blood in the city from afar. Gathering together, it was like a wolf smoke. Obviously, there were a large number of martial artists staying inside. It should be his left camp. Taking a deep breath, Luo Mu walked through the city gate and walked in. In the training ground, under the instigation of the sword-carrying captain, the crowd was excited and intensified. There was a tendency to knock the academy disciple to the ground. Sister, someone is coming. Suddenly a soldier rushed forward and pointed in the direction of the city gate. Hearing this, the scene suddenly became quiet. Qingmu City itself is a small city, and it has been vacant for a long time and is in ruins, so you can directly see the city gate from the training ground. Between each other, there is only one straight road. Yao Hongxiu spit out the melon shell in her mouth, stood up, and looked towards the city gate. Everyone was the same, but the wind was strong. The wind was blowing wildly. A tall figure was walking slowly. He was wearing a black robe and a long sword on his waist. His young and handsome face was not childish, but full of coldness. It seems different. Someone couldn't help but speak. As a soldier of the First Army, he had naturally seen many academy disciples, and the first place was not uncommon. But when those disciples first arrived, each of them had clear eyes like a child. But this person was different. It even made people feel an inexplicable pressure. Worrying? Luo Mu approached, and his deep eyes swept the whole scene. Yes. A soldier felt his scalp tingling after being stared at by Luo Mu for a long time. He spoke subconsciously. Then his face changed slightly. It was agreed that no matter what the new lieutenant said, he would ignore him and give him a FF to show his power. But the pressure was too great. That look was just like the old generals in the army. Although there was not much emotion, it could make people's backs cold. Very good. Luo Mu walked forward, but the soldiers in front were unwilling to make way, especially the one with a sword on his back, who even showed a provocative look. Seeing this, Luo Mu immediately understood what was going on. A show of power? It seems that the left camp does not welcome him. KR. Just as the sword-carrying man spoke, Luo Mu did not hesitate at all. He drew his sword directly. It was a hot evening, but the temperature suddenly dropped at this moment. Terrifying cold, murderous aura. It even rushed out of the scabbard. It made everyone feel like they were falling into an ice cellar. Not good. Yao Hongxiu, who was standing at the back, had a drastic change of expression. She instantly appeared in front of the sword-carrying captain, trying to block the attack for him. The long sword was unsheathed and held horizontally above her head. Bang! However, at the moment of collision, Yao Hongxiu's face instantly turned red, and blood came out of her mouth directly. What a strong sword! This sword contained boundless murderous aura, as if it was a killing god crawling out of the abyss, full of death, not only affecting her body, but also her spirit. At least, Earth-rank martial arts. What shocked her even more was that 80% of the sword power in her body could not be mobilized. She shrank in the depths, not daring to move. Martial Dao suppression. Yao Hongxiu took a breath of cold air. You have to know that martial Dao suppression can only work if it is more than 30%. She is 80%, which means that even if it is 100%, it cannot suppress her so domineeringly. Unless it is? Thinking of this, Yao Hongxiu's pupils suddenly shrank, and a strong disbelief appeared in his eyes. Bang! The knife pressed the sword body, like Mount Tai pressing down. Yao Hongxiu couldn't hold on. Her body kept sinking, and her right knee even knelt on the ground. It seems that you are my deputy. Luo Mu spoke. His eyes were indifferent and cold. You. Everyone came back to their senses immediately, with a look of surprise on their faces. They didn't expect that the new lieutenant would actually attack directly without any hesitation. What shocked them even more was, the eldest sister was actually pressed down by a knife, and it seemed that she was struggling to hold on. Although the eldest sister had just broken through to the profound core realm, the sword force in her body was as high as 80%, which was already a strong one in the army. Judging from the combat power of the first in the academy in previous years, it is impossible to defeat the elder sister. But now, let go of the elder sister. Everyone rushed over subconsciously. Although they are not as strong as others, they are very courageous. Kneel down, Luo Mu said coldly. Boom. The next second, the whole ancient city was shaken. Everyone knelt on the ground. Their shoulders were like mountains, and some people in the body-tempering realm even lay directly on the ground and couldn't get up at all. What's going on? The sword-carrying captain was stunned, and then his pupils suddenly shrank, and an unbelievable look appeared on his face. I saw behind Luo Mu. An extremely huge illusory long sword slowly emerged and stood in the center of the ancient city. The terrifying aura suppressed everything. Blade intent. The sword-carrying captain lost his voice. Everyone's eyes were filled with shock and even fear. It was the true meaning of martial Dao. How is it possible? How could a young man who was not even 20 years old realize the true meaning of martial Dao? And this true meaning was exactly the same as this person's aura, and it was obviously realized by himself, not inherited by the bloodline. Too exaggerated. Too outrageous. In the past, the number one in the academy, the martial Dao's momentum was only 70% to 80% at most. But this time, there was the true meaning of martial Dao. At this moment, everyone finally understood why Lord Xueyong would airdrop a lieutenant to the dignified First Army. This is not a relationship. It's ironclad strength. The true meaning of martial Dao. Looking at the rank 1 level of lieutenant, almost no one has it. Only the position of general will have the true meaning of martial artist. But those people are at least over 40 or 50 years old. And the person in front of him, he is so young that it makes people afraid. I don't like to waste time, and I don't like to be servile. If I deal with it early, I can have peace in the future. Luo Mu spoke, and his eyes swept across the whole place. No one dared to look at him at this moment. Now, are you willing to bow your heads? The voice fell. Deputy Yao Hongxiu, see the captain. Yao Hongxiu said bitterly with blood flowing from the corner of her mouth. As expected. It is. Blade intent. Only the true meaning of martial Dao can suppress her 80% sword power. All the resentment in her heart also subsided. Because Luo Mu is indeed more qualified than her to serve as the captain, Lord Xueyong's decision is correct. See the captain. The other soldiers also shouted hurriedly. The sound was like a wave, echoing over the ancient city. That's right. Luo Mu sheathed his sword. Blade intent also dissipated. Everyone suddenly felt as if they had been pardoned, and they all collapsed to the ground. Is this the true meaning of martial Dao? It's so scary. Being in it, both the body and the spirit are like being trapped in a quagmire, squeezed from all sides, and full of suffocation. Please forgive me, Captain. Yao Hongxiu wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth, stood up and slightly cupped her hands, trying to explain something. I can understand, but it won't happen again. Luo Mu interrupted her and waved his hand. Thank you, Captain. Yao Hongxiu felt relieved. It seems that this new captain has a broad mind. Captain, please follow me. Things have been prepared for you. Then Yao Hongxiu walked to the front to lead the way. Okay. The two walked into the huge tent. My goodness, are these really disciples of the academy? They are not comparable to the previous batch. Too strong. It seems that he is not even 18 years old, let alone 20 years old. It is incredible that a profound core realm of this age can realize the true meaning of martial Dao. That's not all. Didn't you see the swordsmanship just now? It was full of murderous aura. The number of people who died in his hands was at least several thousand. It seems so. The academy is so peaceful. How could his disciples have such swordsmanship? If you don't know, you would think he is from the military. Who cares? Anyway, I accept this captain, and I am convinced and willing to accept his leadership. There was constant discussion outside. From the initial dissatisfaction, to now I am convinced and even a little excited. After all, who doesn't want their superiors to be stronger? There are frequent wars on the border. If the leader is not strong, there is a high probability that they will be wiped out. In the tent, Luo Mu changed into a set of black and gold armor. It was engraved with many domineering patterns. This is the exclusive clothing of the lieutenant, representing the identity, and is also a defensive device. It contains a formation that can absorb the power of attack and reduce damage. Not bad. Looking at himself in the bronze mirror, Luo Mu nodded slightly. He is tall and sturdy, not thin, so this armor does not feel loose when worn on his body. It fits perfectly. Let's go. Luo Mu turned around and looked at Yao Hongxiu. Yao Hongxiu was stunned for a moment. As the saying goes, Buddha relies on gold clothes, and people rely on beautiful clothes. After putting on the armor, Luo Mu's temperament suddenly changed dramatically. He is very heroic and handsome. Now he looks like a young god. Don't be distracted. Luo Mu raised his hand and gently tapped Yao Hongxiu's forehead. Captain, please forgive me. Yao Hongxiu reacted and said quickly. At the same time, her cheeks flushed. She was already in her 30s, almost 40 years old, and had seen all kinds of men. Today, she was stunned by a young man. Fortunately, no one else noticed, otherwise she would be laughed at to death in the future. When Luo Mu walked out of the tent, the originally noisy training ground suddenly became quiet. Everyone took a breath. A look of shock appeared. The idea was almost the same as Yao Hongxiu's. 4 words appeared in her mind: young god general. In the past, these 4 words only existed in concepts, but now they have become concrete. Why don't you come up and meet the captain? Yao Hongxiu shouted.
Yes.
Hearing this, 13 spirit sea realms immediately stepped forward and knelt on one knee in front of Luo Mu. Captain Wang Zhun, meet the captain. Marshal with a sword on his back artist said respectfully. Before, he could be said to be the most disrespectful person, but now he has been completely convinced. Whether it is strength or appearance, he is the only choice in his mind. Even the elder sister is far inferior. Captain Zhang Han, meet the captain. Captain Lei Feng. Captain. Although there are 13 people in Spirit Sea Realm, there are only 5 captains, and the others are either deputy positions or centurions. A dignified Spirit Sea Realm, if placed in a detachment, can be a captain, but in the first army, he can only be a centurion. Yeah. Luo Mu nodded slightly. At this time, the sunset was gradually sinking to the west, and the dusk was rich. Let's return to the Shenwei army's base first, Luo Mu said.
Yes.
At the command, the whole camp set out, leaving Qingmu City. At present, the border is in a relatively tense state. After so many years of recuperation, the hundreds of tribes in southern Xinjiang are beginning to stir again. In recent months, they have launched several attacks, trying to cross our defense line and rush into the hinterland of the 7 counties of Chang'an. Along the way, under Luo Mu's questioning, Yao Hongxiu began to talk about the current situation in the border. The invasion of southern Xinjiang should not be just for land, right? Luo Mu raised his eyebrows slightly. The land of witchcraft in southern Xinjiang is also called the Wu Gu dynasty. It was established at about the same time as the Great Zhou Divine Sovereign. It can be said that it has been fighting for more than 100,000 years. In theory, if you can't tell the winner, you should stop and take a break. But the witchcraft in southern Xinjiang is like a flea. Every time you are almost done recuperating, you have to do something. Yes, the southern Xinjiang martial artist practices witchcraft. This kind of practice requires a large number of living beings, and the reproduction ability of the hundreds of tribes in southern Xinjiang is not strong, so they can only look to our Great Zhou Divine Sovereign. After all, it is the closest. Yao Hongxiu nodded. Yes, I have seen a few words in the book before, and now I have finally got Yao Hongxiu's confirmation. The sky is getting darker. Only the bright moonlight illuminates the earth. Whoosh! Suddenly, a very dazzling beam of light rose in the distance, blooming like fireworks. It's heavenly fire. Yao Hongxiu's face suddenly changed. What is heavenly fire? Luo Mu is a newcomer, so naturally he doesn't know a lot of things. This is a special aid-seeking object of my Shenwei army. Once the heavenly fire smoke rises, it means that help is needed. Yao Hongxiu said, that direction seems to be where the first army's 7 rooms are. Damn the southern border bugs. They actually launched another sneak attack. Captain, we have to go to help. Yao Hongxiu looked at Luo Mu. Then go. Luo Mu did not refuse. He also wanted to see what the so-called southern border bugs looked like. In addition, he came to the borderland not only for military merit. There is also training. The Holy Spirit Killing Sword Art is an apex-level Earth-rank high-grade martial art that requires a lot, even a huge amount of killing, to practice. So he can miss any battle. 3.2. The earth trembled. The unique spirit horse of the Shenwei army began to gallop at an extremely fast speed, rushing towards the place where the heavenly fire smoke lit up, Blackchi Ridge, the place where the 7th Battalion of the 1st Army of the Shenwei Army was stationed. At this time, it was already burning. Falling into chaos, there were dense figures everywhere, even giant bugs. They drilled out from the ground, destroyed the defense formation, and swallowed people when they saw them. It's a giant spirit bug, damn it, and the remnants of the D clan. The captain of the 7th Battalion was a middle-aged man, holding a spear, fighting bloody battles. Under normal circumstances, the cultivation of the 1st layer of the profound core realm, plus the 6th layer of the spear, is enough to deal with most attacks. But at this moment, the opponent is obviously well prepared. The Gu cultivator of the profound core realm, 2 of the 4 high heavens, has far exceeded his response range. The Gu insects were flying all over the sky, drilling into the bodies of the soldiers, and soon devoured them all, turning them into white bones on the ground. Not good. At the moment of spirit partitioning, a terrifying wind rushed from behind. The captain of the 7th Battalion changed his face and hurriedly held the spear horizontally to resist, but the unimaginable force was transmitted from the spear body. It directly broke 5 or 6 ribs in his body. The body also flew out. Hee, take these people back. It should be able to meet the needs of the sacrifice. The tall figure said. He looked very strange. It was obviously a child's head, but the body was extremely strong, 5 meters tall, and the most creepy thing was that there were densely packed insects crawling under the skin. The The captain of the 7th Battalion spat out a mouthful of blood. He was dying. Hee, go to hell. The tall figure grabbed the captain of the 7th Battalion. For a moment, the captain couldn't help but show despair in his eyes. But the next second, the temperature of the battlefield dropped suddenly, and a terrifying knife light nearly hundreds of meters long tore through the darkness and came across. Chapter 65. What? The tall Guxiu's face changed instantly. It seemed that he didn't expect such a strange situation to suddenly appear, and the knife light that was slashing was very scary, as if there was an infinite death intention surrounding it. Before it got close, there was a feeling that the vitality in the body was withering and was about to be swallowed. The knife light was too fast. The tall Guxiu had no time to avoid it, so he could only swell his muscles and catch the knife light with both hands in the way of receiving the blade. Bang! The tall Guxiu was hit hard. He retreated dozens of steps before he stopped, although the knife light had already cut into his shoulder, but at least it was barely blocked. However, just as the tall Guxiu showed a look of surprise, a terrifying pressure swept over. It covered an area of nearly 1,000 meters in radius. Everyone felt their shoulders sink, as if they were carrying a mountain, and breathing became extremely difficult. Not good. The tall Guxiu's pupil shrank suddenly, because he found that at the moment when this pressure swept over, the sword light that he had blocked with great difficulty suddenly increased in power. Payamo could not resist. Puff. The sword light slashed down. The tall Guxiu was split in two and fell to the ground. Sword. Meaning. Fear appeared in the eyes of a great Guxiu. He had felt the true meaning of the martial Tao of the human race, which was exactly the same as this. Pressure like the sea. Ha ha ha. Lu Chong, the captain of the 7th Battalion, was stunned for a while, and then laughed. You bunch of bugs, wait for death. The heavenly fire smoke actually attracted a general. In the army, generally only generals have the true meaning of martial Tao. Hearing this, despair suddenly appeared in the eyes of all Guxiu. General, how is it possible? I have clearly conducted an investigation and there are no generals in the Heike Ridge or even the surrounding areas. As soon as the voice fell, a figure appeared. It was a young man, wearing black and gold armor, holding a black long sword, with a strong murderous aura surging all over his body. AJ, you used the Holy Spirit killing sword art to kill a profound core realm 309th level Gu cultivator, triggering a critical hit, and get 100 times the reward. In his mind, a prompt sounded. 100 times. Luo Mu's eyes were filled with surprise. This is equivalent to killing a full 100 profound core realm martial artists. Profound core realm. He is in the 4th realm of cultivation. Whether it is Southern Xinjiang or Great Zhou Divine Sovereign, he is a strong man in one side, a quite rare existence. Usually, there are not so many profound core realms for him to kill. Even in this border area, it is impossible. System. Awesome. Luo Mu's mouth corners raised. Kakaka. The spiritual sword in his hand trembled wildly, and a huge amount of death and negative emotions poured into the blade, which was absorbed by the hazy killing saber chi. Visible to the naked eye. Killing saber chi is becoming solid rapidly. It actually directly passed the initial glimpse. Basic accomplishment. Boom. The spiritual knife in his hand also underwent a huge change, with dense blood patterns on the surface, and the murderous aura it exuded was almost tangible, causing the temperature of the entire camp to drop madly. 1, 2, 3, and 3 more. Looking at the 3 great Gu cultivators on the field, Luo Mu raised a smile at the corner of his mouth. Run! One of the great Gu cultivators shouted, and I don't know what method he used, but he actually got rid of the pressure of the true meaning for a short time. The body returned to normal and ran away quickly. Hearing this, the other Gu cultivators also reacted, turned around quickly, and began to flee in all directions under the huge pressure. True meaning martial artist. This is not something they can contend with, and they also saw clearly that the one who came was not a general at all, just a captain. But this captain has the true meaning of martial Tao. Don't talk about them. Lu Chong, the captain of the 7th camp, was also stunned. Stunned in place. Wanna run? Luo Mu snorted coldly. It's not easy to meet you guys. How can I let you go? You all must die. Song. A glimpse of light. Luo Mu instantly caught up with the first escaped Guxiu. In southern Xinjiang, profound core realm Guxiu, called the Great Guxiu, has a very high status. Die. The Great Guxiu saw that he could not escape, turned around and waved his hands, throwing out dense, silver needles. Only after a closer look, that was not a silver needle, but a silver Gu worm. The tip of the head was pointed, emitting a cold light, obviously with extremely high penetrating power. Luo Mu's figure flashed. After the great accomplishment of floating light and shadow step, his body movements were already extremely flexible and he dodged easily. Swish. The knife light was like snow. The head of the great Guxiu flew up. There was a strong unwillingness and resentment in his eyes. The magical thing is that there was no blood sprayed. Looking inside, the body was like a dry riverbed, which was extremely weird. Luo Mu didn't think much. The long knife chopped again and chopped it into pieces. Guxiu, like those crazy people who practice demon Dao evil arts, had long been considered human. AJ, you used the holy spirit killing knife art to kill a profound core realm second layer Guxiu. Trigger critical hit, get 70 times the harvest. The prompt sounded, although it is not 100 times, but 70 times is also very high. The spirit knife in his hand vibrated again. It can be seen with the naked eye that the killing saber chi has become more condensed and even began to have a crystal texture. Towards the realm of great accomplishment. Keep moving forward. Continue. Luo Mu chased after the third great Guxiu. Boom, boom, boom. The sound of horse hooves continued. Yao Hongxiu finally arrived with 5,000 people from the left camp. Luo Mu thought the spirit horse was too slow, so he used his body skills to get there first. Vice Captain Yao, it turned out to be you. When Lu Chong saw Yao Hongxiu, he immediately knew which camp they were coming from. Where is my captain? Yao Hongxiu asked directly. She looked around the whole place and did not see Luo Mu. Was that person just now the new captain of the left camp? Lu Chong also reacted. Indeed, the black gold armor was made by the captain of Zhuoying. That's right. Yao Hongxiu nodded. He went after the remaining few great Gu cultivators. Lu Chong said, Okay. Hearing this, Hongxiu relaxed. A mere great Gu cultivator, unless he is the top one, would not be a match for the captain. After all, the captain has already realized blade intent. Who is this captain? A young profound core realm has realized blade intent. Lu Chong came back to his senses now, with a look of shock on his face. And this blade intent does not have the aura of predecessors, it is completely realized by myself. The first place in this academy ceremony, Yao Hongxiu said with a smile. Academy disciple? Lu Chong was stunned. When did the academy disciples reach this level? Not only blade intent, but also the murderous swordsmanship. Don't chat for now. Kill as many Gu cultivators as you can. Don't let them leave easily. Yao Hongxiu's face turned cold. Right. Hearing this, Lu Chong's face also showed hatred. His 7th battalion was rebuilt not long ago. He finally added some soldiers. As a result, he was ambushed today and 3 of them died in a flash. How can he bear not to avenge this? Then he chased the Gu cultivators who were fleeing in all directions. Luo Mu's blade intent covered an area of nearly 1,000 meters. The Gu cultivators in it were like being stuck in a quagmire and could not escape far. As for those in his own camp, Luo Mu deliberately avoided them, so they were not affected. Swish. In the dark forest, the snow-white knife light tore through the darkness. The head of the last great Gu cultivator finally fell to the ground. His body lay heavily on the ground. OJ, you used the Holy Spirit killing saber art to kill a profound core realm second layer Gu cultivator, trigger a critical hit, and get a 100-fold reward. The prompt sounded. 100-fold again. Luo Mu's eyes flashed with surprise. It seems that today is really a lucky day. During the day, it was triggered 3 times, and now it is triggered twice. Boom. The spiritual knife in his hand vibrates wildly. A huge amount of death and negative emotions are absorbed by the killing saber chi again. Successfully stepped into the realm of great accomplishment. The killing saber chi in the blade is almost becoming substantial and is merging with the spiritual knife. When it is perfect, saber chi is sword weapon. The two are indistinguishable from each other. It's a pity that there is no profound core realm. Luo Mu's eyes flashed with regret. 4 profound core realms, 200-fold, 170-fold, and 150-fold. It is equivalent to killing 320 profound core realms. This is an extremely exaggerated number. But even so, the sword art is still not perfect, and it is only great accomplishment, which shows how difficult it is to practice. As a martial art second only to heavenly rank, earth rank high grade is naturally very, very difficult. So even if it is a demon, it is unlikely to practice earth rank high grade in profound core realm. More often it is low grade or middle grade. Only those extremely confident elites can get in touch with earth rank upper area. And Luo Mu still learned the killing martial arts in earth rank high grade. Killing martial arts. Even more difficult. Because you need to practice in killing, and it is a large amount, even a huge amount of killing. How can you usually have so many creatures to kill? In addition, being in killing for a long time can easily affect your mind, and then fall into the abyss of killing and become crazy. But these difficulties do not exist for Luo Mu. There is a critical hit. He does not need to really kill so many creatures. A high critical hit can be worth 100. Naturally, they will not be in the killing for a long time, so that their minds will be completely affected. In the world, risks and benefits are proportional. So once the killing martial arts are practiced, the power is extremely terrible, especially the high-grade killing martial arts, which is almost the apex level in the same level, and it is difficult to compare. Any martial arts will be weaker. 633 That killing force not only acts on the body, but also affects the mind. Sometimes, a glance is enough to make people's liver and gallbladder break, as if falling into hell. So someone said, Earth rank high-grade killing martial arts can actually be barely called half heavenly rank, because heavenly rank, it involves the most mysterious spiritual realm. Continue. Luo Mu chased the remaining Gu cultivators. Although these Gu cultivators have low cultivation, most of them are in body tempering to spirit sea realm, but mosquitoes are meat no matter how small, and they cannot be wasted. With more numbers, the accumulation will be very considerable. It is night. The moonlight is bright. On the Black Chi Ridge, because of Luo Mu's arrival, the offense and defense changed. About half an hour later, all the Gu cultivators were killed, and none of them escaped. This was entirely due to the restriction of the true meaning of martial Dao. The speed of those Gu cultivators was as fast as a snail, and they were caught up directly. Thank you, Captain Luo, for your help, otherwise my 7th Battalion would really be destroyed tonight. Lu Cheng walked forward and said to Luo Mu, who was sitting on a boulder and gently wiping the blade. We are all colleagues, why thank you. Luo Mu glanced at him, and his eyes returned to the blade. He only had time to kill half of the remaining Gu cultivators, and the rest were killed by Yao Hongxiu and others, so the harvest was not very high. But in the level of great accomplishment, he took a step forward. And since great accomplishment, the spirit sword is changing every minute and every second, constantly merging with the killing saber chi, and its appearance is completely different from the beginning. It is a bit similar to the horizontal sword. It's just that the blade is longer. My lord. Yao Hongxiu put away the white cloth. Luo Mu was wiping the knife, and she was wiping Luo Mu's armor. It was all the blood of the Gu Xiu. No matter what, I will repay you in the future. If Captain Luo needs you, Lu will definitely go through fire and water. Lu Cheng said seriously. This is a very perceptive person. After seeing Luo Mu's fighting power, he knew that Luo Mu's future would definitely not only be a captain, but even a general. So he wanted to take the opportunity to build a good relationship. And maybe he will be Luo Mu's subordinate in the future. You are too polite. Luo Mu jumped off the boulder, smiled, and patted his shoulder. Then he rode on the spirit horse. He was preparing to return to the Shenwei army's base, and he still needed to meet the blood-brave Marquis.
Thank you for watching. You can find the next videos in the playlist linked in the info card or directly on my channel. As always, if you have any feedback, feel free to share it in the comments. I'd also appreciate your thoughts on the ad experience in this video. Let me know in the comments below.